Chapter 1926. The shield protecting the water spirit fruit was very strong, but no matter how strong it could not resist the power of a Star Lord. The power of a Star Lord could steal the sky and change the sun. It was not a problem to forcefully suppress a mere divine tree. Especially when compared to the golden divine grass, it was much weaker. The two were not on the same level. With just a single move, he had broken through the barrier, and he had even specially carved out a path for Qingxue so that she could retrieve it herself. The shield was gone, but there was still some energy surrounding the surface of the water spirit fruit. If she wanted to pick it, she would have to spend some effort. If she broke the shield and entered, it would take a long time, and it would be very difficult. Even Grandmaster Xing could not break it easily. He needed some time, not to mention Qingxue, who was in the middle stage of Star Master. Yes. Qingxue's heart tightened. She did not expect Yi Tianyun to be so overbearing. He snatched away 2 of the 3 water spirit fruits, leaving only 1 in front. This meant that the rest of Grandmaster Xing's trip was in vain. They were just here to take a look. At the same time, she was deeply shocked. This was the power of a Star Lord. It was above everything. The thing that Grandmaster Xing and the rest tried their best to break was broken in the blink of an eye. It was like drinking water. Star Lord? How could they not be familiar with this energy? This horrifying power was not something they could compare with. It made their hearts tremble. They were all dumbfounded. Rush up to snatch it? If they rushed up, they would not even be able to fill their teeth. Qing Dan and the rest were completely stunned, especially Qing Dan. Originally, he was filled with anger, but now he was cold from head to toe, completely chilled to the bone. This was an extremely horrifying thing. They had never thought that Yi Tianyun was really a Star Lord. Thinking of what Qingxue said before, she kept blocking in front of them, hinting them not to be so impulsive. But they still did not believe that Yi Tianyun was a Star Lord. They even said disrespectful words. If it were any other Star Lord, they would have killed him with 1 slap. Why would they stay until now? It's really Lord Tai Bai jinxing. Qing Dan was about to cry. Wasn't what she said just now courting death? It was one thing to throw away one's life, but it was likely that even one's family would be implicated. Elder Qing Shuiyu and the others turned pale. Elder Qing Shuiyu knew that he had made a mistake just now. He hurriedly flew over, dragged Qing Meng and Qing Dan to the front of Yi Tianyun, and led them to kneel down together. "I'm sorry, sir. We didn't mean to offend you." Elder Qing Shuiyu immediately apologized without any hesitation. A star venerate destroying their clans was as easy as drinking water. If they did not immediately apologize, the consequences would be dire. Yi Tianyun was still sitting there, drinking wine and watching the situation in front of him. He didn't care about them at all. He didn't even look at them. They did not get up, nor did they show any dissatisfaction. They just knelt on the ground, not daring to get up. Qing Dan kept kowtowing until his forehead was bleeding, but he didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. He was panic-stricken. How could he care about this? He was completely frightened. He knew that if he didn't do this, he would be the one to die soon. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live well. Seeing them like this, Qingxue's heart was desolate. This was the difference in strength. When you were strong, others would treat you as a human. Without strength, you were nothing. She wanted to have this kind of strength. Not only could she make everyone submit to her, but she also wanted to live like a human one day. She didn't have any pity for them kneeling on the ground. They were wrong. She had advised them before, but they didn't believe her. Did they only realize that they were blind when they burst out with strength? "Go and pick the water spirit fruit for me, sir." Immediately, Qingxue straightened up and walked towards the water spirit fruit. All eyes gathered on her again. No one dared to stop her. With a Lord Tai Bai jinxing protecting her, who dared to stop her? Whoever stopped her would be courting death. Qingxue walked towards the divine tree step by step. Soon, she reached the water spirit fruit and raised her hand to pick it. Just as she raised her hand, it was blocked by the light. Waves of power kept surging towards her. Her slender hand was immediately eroded by this power, and her body began to freeze. If this were to continue, his entire body would probably be frozen stiff. But she didn't give up. She immediately mobilized all her strength and even took out the starry Dharma form to pick it. No matter what, she had to get this water spirit fruit. Not only could she not let down Yi Tianyun's good intentions, but she also could not let herself down. Whether she could turn the tables depended on her actions. While she was trying hard to pick it, the situation on Yi Tianyun's side was different. One by one, the starry masters came over and bowed deeply. "Greetings, Lord Tai Bai Jinxing." Yi Tianyun nodded and nodded to them, but for Elder Qing Shuiyu, he didn't pay attention to them. Although Elder Qing Shuiyu and the others were dissatisfied, they didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. This was a Lord Tai Bai Jinxing, an existence who could determine life and death. "Lord Tai Bai Jinxing, we are short of a water spirit fruit. If possible, we are willing to exchange for it with other resources. Is that okay?" One of the starry masters immediately stood up and made a request. They were all starry masters, so they were not dissatisfied at all. Yi Tianyun snatched all the water spirit fruits, but they didn't dare to show any anger. They could only make a request to exchange for resources. "Oh, what resources do you have? Tell me." Yi Tianyun was interested. He snatched all the water spirit fruits because he wanted to stay. This water spirit fruit was not bad. It was not too much to keep it with him. As for leaving it to others, it was impossible. Here, people fought with their strength, not by pretending to be pitiful. They wouldn't give you a water spirit fruit just because you were too pitiful. Even if there were 30 or 300 water spirit fruits, they wouldn't give one away even if they couldn't use them all, let alone 3. Cultivation was a very selfish thing, especially for outsiders. It was impossible for them to give anything away. It was the same for Yi Tianyun. He wasn't familiar with them. Snatching the spiritual fruits was his own ability. The water spirit fruit grew from heaven and earth and didn't belong to anyone. It wouldn't matter if he snatched it away. "I have rainwater corals. They're not inferior to the water spirit fruit at all. I can take out 2. "Lord Tai Bai Jinxing, I have a water-repellent pearl." "Lord Tai Bai Jinxing, I have..." One by one, they quickly stood up and proposed the price of the exchange. Their disciples were in urgent need of the water spirit fruit. The rest of the things were basically impossible to replace. Chapter 1927. One by one, the Star Masters reported the price they could pay, and each was better than the other. However, Yi Tianyun still shook his head. These were of no use to him. The main point was that the items exchanged were all relatively ordinary. He kept the water spiritual fruit, and he could give it to Shuiyun and the others in the future. As for the water corals, they were useful, but they were not as effective as the water spiritual fruit. "Your Excellency, I have a treasure that should satisfy you," Elder Qing Shuiyu suddenly said. Yi Tianyun finally looked at them, and he said with some interest, "Oh, tell me about it." Now, Elder Qing Shuiyu got attention. Otherwise, Yi Tianyun would not even bother to look at them. However, Elder Qing Shuiyu thought too much. Even if they did not kneel down and beg for mercy, he would not do anything to them. He had said before that he would not look into it. If he really wanted to look into it, he would only look into Qing Dan. He would not be as overbearing as other Star Lords, who would kill the 9 clans of others. However, Elder Qing Shuiyu had heard too many similar things. How could he not beg for mercy? If he did not beg for mercy, he would probably die. "We have a spiritual crystal of water that can be used with the water spiritual fruit. If the 2 are used together, the effect will reach the best level." Elder Qing Shuiyu quickly took out a light blue crystal and said, "We won't exchange for the water spiritual fruit. We just want to give it to you as an apology." When Yi Tianyun saw the spiritual crystal of water, his eyes lit up. He nodded and took it, saying, "Okay, thank you very much." Of course, he would not stand on ceremony. Since they had given it to him, he would accept it without any hesitation. "Then, please don't mind the mistake we made before," Elder Qing Shuiyu said awkwardly. "I hope there won't be a next time," Yi Tianyun said indifferently. "No, it will never happen again." Elder Qing Shuiyu waved his hand quickly. Even Qing Dan and the others turned their heads away crazily. They did not dare to provoke Yi Tianyun unless they wanted to die. All right then, scram. Yi Tianyun waved his hand, not even bothering to look at them. Immediately after, Elder Qing Shuiyu led them to express their thanks, then hurriedly got up and ran to the side, staying far away. However, they did not leave. Instead, they observed the situation from afar. Their attention had completely shifted to Qing Shui. After returning to the clan, tell the clan leader about the situation here. Transfer all the resources to Qing Shui and focus on nurturing her. Not only was Elder Qing Shuiyu not angry at all, but he even shifted his attention to Qing Shui. Since Yi Tianyun valued Qing Shui so much, he felt that there must be something going on. If he could establish a good relationship with her, wouldn't it be equivalent to having another Star Lord to help him? At that time, they wouldn't dare to say that they could do whatever they wanted, but it wouldn't be a problem for them to cause trouble in this area. Qing Dan and Qing Meng nodded. Although they were unwilling, they knew that this was the only thing they could do. Qing Dan looked at Qing Shui, who was picking the water spirit fruit in front of them, full of jealousy. He kept roaring in his heart, "Why? Why is it her and not me who gets such treatment?" Qing Meng had the same thought. Originally, they had been praised to the heavens in the clan. Now, the tables had turned. They would always be suppressed. Even without Yi Tianyun's help in the future, Qing Shui, who had the water spirit fruit, would be able to greatly improve herself. At that time, she would definitely surpass them. However, they never thought about why Yi Tianyun would give Qing Shui a chance encounter. It was purely because she was pleasing to the eye. Some kind-hearted and righteous cultivators must be treated with kindness. They were full of jealousy, but this was also based on the fact that they did not know the situation outside. If they knew the situation outside, they would not think like this. Along with the passage of time, Qing Shui's hand gradually came into contact with the water spirit fruit, and in the end, she plucked it. At the same time, her body was already frozen into an ice sculpture. When she grabbed the water spirit fruit, she collapsed. "I finally got it," Qing Shui collapsed with a smile on her face. This was not easy for her. Unless she had the cultivation of a Star Master, it would not be easy at all. If an ordinary Star Master tried to forcefully pluck it, they might even die. The cold air released by the water spirit fruit was too overbearing. It could easily freeze a Star Master into an ice sculpture. It was already quite impressive that Qing Shui could hold on until now and successfully take it. Just as she was about to collapse, a force came from below and held her up. At the same time, it expelled the cold air from her body. The one who did it was naturally Yi Tianyun. Following that, he pulled Qing Shui in front of him and said with a smile, "Not bad. It seems that you did it. You did a very good job." Yi Tianyun was very satisfied with Qing Shui's performance. Previously, he estimated that Qing Shui would need a period of time to get used to it before she could successfully pluck it. Who knew that she would succeed on the first try? However, the risk was too great. It was a little too desperate. If she was not careful, she would be turned into an ice sculpture forever. Even her soul would be frozen into an ice sculpture. "Thank you, my lord." Qing Shui prostrated on the ground and thanked him with the most gratitude. This was the only thing she could do now. "You obtained this with your own strength. I was just a guide." Yi Tianyun waved his hand and said, "The rest is up to you. Go wherever you want to go." The fortune he gave her stopped here. Qing Shui also obtained the corresponding fortune. It was time for her to leave. "My lord, I am willing to follow you and be loyal to you forever." Qing Shui continued to kneel on the ground and made such a request. "What?" Elder Qing Shuiyu's face was filled with anger. He shouted, "Qing Shui, what are you saying? How can you betray our clan?" "I didn't betray the family. The family chose to abandon me." Qing Shui shook her head. "She was abandoned when she came in. That's impossible. How could the family abandon you?" Elder Qing Shuiyu immediately shook his head and denied. Qing Shui was now with Lord Taibai Jinxing. With Lord Taibai Jinxing as her backer, the family couldn't wait to spoil her. How could they abandon her? At this time, the mist slowly disappeared, which meant that the 5 Elements mountain was opened. When it was opened, the mist disappeared. After that, it would be more convenient to communicate with others. Soon, Elder Qing Shuiyu received the message from the family. After knowing it, his face changed and he shouted, provoking the ancestral land of the Jade God. The ancestral land of the Jade God was the most terrifying force. No other forces dared to provoke it. Now, Yi Tianyun had provoked the ancestral land of the Jade God, which was basically a death sentence in advance. Chapter 1928. When they heard this news, Elder Qing Shuiyu and the others looked at Yi Tianyun as if they were looking at a dead man. Elder, we shouldn't apologize. This fellow will be dealt with very soon. Qing Dan's voice transmission was filled with anger. He was not convinced. Previously, he had chosen to submit because he feared the star venerate's strength. Now that he heard that they had provoked the Jade God ancestral land, he wanted to laugh out loud. He felt that Yi Tianyun was dead for sure. This was retribution. Idiot, we have to apologize no matter what. Who knows when the Jade God ancestral land will send people over? When the Jade God ancestral land sends people over, our clans will be destroyed several times over. Elder Qing Shuiyu snorted coldly. We still have to apologize. It's fine to suffer for a while. However, we absolutely cannot accept this Qing Shui. We have to remove her from the clan and never consider her a clansman again. That's right. This is simply a scourge. If we had not received the news in time, our clans would have been in danger. Qing Dan nodded heavily, feeling extremely carefree. Even Qing Meng felt extremely carefree when she heard the news. Now, no one would compete with them for resources. Even if Qing Shui obtained the water spirit fruit and became more talented than them in the future, it would be meaningless. After all, based on the current situation, she was basically sending herself to death. Especially now, if she joined Yi Tianyun's side, it would be an act of courting death. This kind of behavior made them want to clap and applaud. Previously, when Elder Qing Shuiyu said that he would distribute all the resources to Qing Shui, his mood had sunk to the bottom. Now that he heard this news, he suddenly brought it up again. The ups and downs were really unbearable. Indeed, I really did not expect such a thing to happen. I originally thought that we would have an expert helping us. Elder Qing Shuiyu shook his head. His feelings were also complicated. Originally, he thought that it would be great to have a backer, a star venerate as a backer. Unfortunately, this backer turned out to be a troublemaker. Of all the factions to provoke, he had to provoke the Jade God ancestral land. An existence that could kill 2 star venerates had to be extremely strong. With such a powerful backer, they would definitely be extremely happy to curry favor with him. However, if they offended the Jade God ancestral land, not to mention killing 2 star venerates, even killing 3 would be useless. The star monarchs of the Jade God ancestral land were equal to 5 star monarchs. This wasn't an exaggeration. They had a star venerable's inheritance, and they were much stronger than other factions. These words could only be said through voice transmissions. How could they dare to make even the slightest sound? If they were heard, they would be dead for sure. At this moment, the way they looked at Qing Shui was no longer the slightest bit envious, nor did they have any intention of stopping her. As long as they were with Yi Tianyun, they would definitely be implicated. On the other side, Yi Tianyun looked at Qing Shui, who was kneeling on the ground, and finally nodded. Since you've decided to join my side, you'll have to follow the rules and listen to my orders. I don't ask for much. I just want absolute loyalty. I don't care about anything else. Yi Tianyun didn't object to Qing Shui's joining. He had seen through Qing Shui's potential, so he was willing to take her as his attendant. If he trained her well, she would definitely be a great help. Thank you, sir. I'm absolutely loyal. I won't have any second thoughts. Qing Shui knelt on the ground again. However, the practitioners around them didn't envy her at all. They had also received the news from outside. When they learned Yi Tianyun had offended the Jade God ancestral land, they knew Yi Tianyun was doomed. They didn't want to curry favor with him at all. It was really not worthwhile to curry favor with a dying man. More importantly, they didn't want to have anything to do with Yi Tianyun. If the Jade God Ancestral Land investigated them, they would all be doomed. It wasn't the first time they had heard about the Jade God Ancestral Land's tyranny. If they were implicated, their whole clan would be exterminated. Tianyun nodded. He lifted Qing Shui up and looked around. He had a general idea of the situation. From their eyes, it was as if they were looking at a dead man. He knew that the news of him offending the Jade God Ancestral Land must have spread. Let's go. Tianyun waved his hand and left with the others. He didn't want to stay any longer. No one came to curry favor with him, and no one asked him to stay. They all stayed far away from him and watched him leave. After he left, people started to talk about him. They were all gloating, thinking that Tianyun would definitely die. Unfortunately, the water spirit fruits had been taken away. They wouldn't have the chance to get them back. Sir, they all think that you will lose against the Jade God Ancestral Land. Qing Shui couldn't help but say, "Oh, do you think I will lose?" Tianyun looked at her and smiled. "Sir, you are talented and powerful. You don't have a good chance of winning against the Jade God Ancestral Land." Qing Shui thought for a while and said boldly, "If you hide for a while, you will have a chance against the Jade God Ancestral Land." She didn't just flatter him. She said what she needed to say. If she blindly flattered him, it would get him killed. "What about you?" Tianyun looked at Han Long, wanting to hear what he had to say. "Sir, this old servant will tell you the truth. Your chance of winning is slim. If you fight them head-on, you will die." Han Long said, "Just like Lady Qing Shui said, if you hide for a while and improve yourself, you will have a chance." They still thought that Tianyun would lose. The Jade God Ancestral Land was too strong. It wasn't that Tianyun was weak, but that the Jade God Ancestral Land was too strong. It was so strong that it was hard to resist. Even the two of them couldn't escape from this vicious circle. They had always been in a state of fear and respect for the Jade God Ancestral Land. "Well, you two are telling the truth." Tianyun smiled and continued to walk forward. "What if I say that I will win this time?" The two of them looked at each other before lowering their heads and saying in a deep voice, "If Sir is willing to fight, we will definitely follow you into battle." No matter what Tianyun chooses, they will follow him to fight, no matter if it's right or wrong. The world is big. A Jade God Ancestral Land can't stop me. Tianyun's eyes were full of fighting spirit. Let alone Jade God Ancestral Land, even 2 Jade God Ancestral Lands can't stop me. But before that, we have to go in and pick a divine herb. Could it be that the divine herb that Lord wants to pluck is the 9 Revolution Stargrass? Qing Shui's expression went grim as she asked hurriedly. "It seems that you know a little bit." "Yes, I want to pick the 9-turn Stargrass," Tianyun said with a smile. Chapter 1929. Tianyun went deeper into the 5 Elements Mountain because he wanted to find the 9-rotation Stargrass. If he could find it, he might be able to improve his star power. Unique astral aspect. Isn't this the highest level? Does the 9 Revolutions Stargrass have any effect? Qing Shui, who was at the side, asked doubtfully. She knew about the 9-rotation Stargrass, but it was only useful for low-level star aspect. For example, level 4 or level 5 star aspect would have a great chance to improve its level. As for the 6th grade star Dharma idol, there was no record of whether it would have any effect after consuming it. As for the unique star aspect, there were not many precedents. After all, if someone did it, they wouldn't spread it around. Sometimes, it was good to keep a low profile. Not necessarily. I think it's still far from perfect. Tianyun shook his head. He felt the 5-color Emperor Dragon in his body. He felt it was still far from perfect. Even though its compatibility was very high now, it was still far from perfect. Compatibility was the degree of compatibility. It was completely different from perfection. He felt the 5-color Emperor Dragon was still far from perfect. It was only a semi-perfect body, not even a semi-perfect body. This was just his feeling. Therefore, when he learned that there was such a special 9-rotation Stargrass in the 5 Elements Mountain, he decided to go in and have a look. "You mean it can be even higher?" Qing Shui covered her mouth. She was very surprised. This was beyond her common sense. Han Long's eyes were full of longing. He also wanted the 9-rotation stargrass. His biggest problem now was that the level of his star aspect was too low. If he could improve it with the 9-rotation stargrass, it would be different. But he knew his own ability. The 9-rotation stargrass was in the depths of the 5 Elements mountain. Without a strong cultivation, it was basically impossible to go in, let alone pick it. It was already a kind of luck for him to go in with Yi Tianyun and see what was inside. Moreover, the 9-rotation stargrass might not be able to improve his level. It would definitely improve his level, but it was not certain whether it could improve his level. The higher the level, the lower the probability. This is just my speculation. There are no records of this in the literature. There is too little information in this area. The Jade God's ancestral land might have some records about it. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed as he said, I feel that breaking through to the Star Venerable Realm requires the Star Dharma avatar. Why is it so difficult to break through to the Star Venerable Realm? I'm afraid it's because your Star Dharma idol hasn't reached the standard yet. He didn't have any information on this, but based on his feelings, he could guess it. There's such a thing, they shook their heads. They could only think about it, but it was basically hopeless. He already had no hope of breaking through to Star Venerate, much less Star Venerate. As for Qing Shui, she didn't think too much about it. She felt that it would be pretty good if she could break through to Grandmaster Xing. After all, once she broke through to Grandmaster Xing, she would be able to establish her own sect. Then they continued forward. There weren't too many detours here, and there was a path that led to the deepest part. In this place, if you had the ability, you could walk in. If you didn't, you could just obediently scram. There weren't too many twists and turns. This time, they didn't take a carriage. The deeper they went, the more they had to pay attention to their surroundings. If they took a carriage again, they wouldn't even know how they died. Yi Tianyun was confident in his strength, but it didn't mean he was absolutely invincible. As they went deeper, the fog became thicker. They couldn't even use their holy awareness to probe too deep, let alone their naked eyes. As expected, even Star Lords can't grasp the situation here. Yi Tianyun frowned. Looking at Han Long and the others, he said, you should go and explore the other areas. Let's see what opportunities you can find. I'll go in alone. If I bring you too, it will be hard to grasp the situation. Han Long and the others nodded. Although they were a little disappointed, they couldn't let Yi Tianyun be distracted to protect them. It would be easy for accidents to happen. Your Excellency will go first. Han Long and Qing Shui turned around and left. With Han Long's protection, they wouldn't run into any danger unless they ran into the powerful Star Master. However, no one would be stupid enough to provoke them. Unless an expert from the Jade God ancestral land came, no one would dare to cause trouble for a Star Venerate's follower. After they left, Yi Tianyun focused on walking in. The fog outside had basically dissipated, and he could see everything clearly. The fog here did not dissipate all year round. If he went in, he would have to be more vigilant. According to the outside world, even Star Venerates had fallen here. Hence, one shouldn't think that a Star Venerate could do whatever he wanted here. If one was careless, not to mention doing whatever he wanted, one might even die here. After Yi Tianyun entered, he could only see the path under his feet. The path here was very obvious. As long as one didn't walk randomly, one would not be able to walk out of it. But if they followed the original route, they would definitely be able to reach the area with the 9 revolution stargrass. That might not be the case. However, if one didn't follow this path, one might get lost in the fog. As Xiao Chen walked along this path, a cold light suddenly pounced on him, almost instantly closing in on his head. There was no warning at all, and it was already charging over. Everything was too sudden. It was like it appeared out of nowhere, catching him off guard. However, Yi Tianyun, who had already raised his focus to the limit, noticed it long ago. He quickly extended his hand and punched forward, not showing any fear at all. Boom! The flash of light in the air was shattered by the punch. Then, half of the corpse fell to the ground with a dong sound. Yi Tianyun looked down and discovered that he had killed a hunting dragon leopard, a hunting dragon leopard that was known to be able to easily kill dragons. Its horrifying speed allowed it to instantly pounce on the enemy and tear the enemy's head to pieces before they could react. However, it was still lacking when facing Yi Tianyun. The cultivation of a hunting dragon leopard is at the level of a late-stage Great Master Xing. No wonder those with low cultivation cannot enter. Yi Tianyun looked at the corpse. Not letting Han Long and the rest in was the right choice. If he was too distracted, he might be decapitated. His cultivation was not weak. Logically, even if his head was crushed, it would be fine as long as his soul was not destroyed. However, these hunting dragon leopards pounced on him. How could they not tear his soul apart? They might even devour his soul. Yi Tianyun perked up and continued to go deeper inside, keeping the same passage all the time. Finally, after killing a few hunting dragon leopards, he passed through this layer of fog. What entered his eyes was a spacious area. Chapter 1930. What entered Yi Tianyun's vision was a group of cultivators fighting over a crystal. This crystal stone was held tightly in the hands of a woman. This woman held the crystal stone tightly as she continuously dodged in all directions, avoiding the attacks of the other grandmasters. There were still star masters here. As long as they gathered together and entered together, they would still be able to enter. Therefore, this group of cultivators who were fighting for the crystals were all Master Xing's cultivations. However, they were not ordinary star masters. They were all late-stage star masters and were not weak. Together with their star images, even if they were not as strong as star venerates, their overall strength was stronger than most star masters. These star masters were naturally star masters of the ancestral lands. Otherwise, they wouldn't be of such high quality. Fairy Fan Yu, hand over the heaven crystal stone. You can't escape. The leader of the star masters laughed sinisterly. He surrounded Fairy Fan Yu, making it hard for her to escape. Leave the crystal and we'll spare your life. If you don't, you'll be going against our Jade God ancestral land. Fairy Fan Yu, we didn't attack you immediately because you're from the Brahma ancestral land. Do you really think we won't use force? There were 11 star masters in this group, which was quite a large number. They were strong enough to level any family. They could even fight against ancestral lands. Some of them were equivalent to half-step star venerates. Otherwise, they wouldn't dare to come here. Jade God ancestral land? Yi Tianyun squinted. He didn't expect this group of star masters to be from the Jade God ancestral land. He was wondering if the people from the Jade God ancestral land would come. Sure enough, they did. The star venerates didn't come, but they sent some elite star masters. This was a kind of training for them. The star venerates of the Jade God ancestral land weren't too interested. The other ancestral lands had to send star venerates to enter, but the Jade God ancestral land sent star masters to train themselves. Although he didn't have a good impression of the Jade God ancestral land, he wouldn't kill everyone immediately. Instead, he looked at Fairy Fan Yu to see how she was doing. Humph, you bunch of bandits. Goddess Fan Yu said coldly, you think you can win just because you have more people? Your Jade God ancestral land has always been like this, and you even want to take our Brahma ancestral land as a subsidiary. Let me tell you, there's no way. Yo, Fairy Fan Yu is giving you some face. Do you really think we won't dare to attack you? Grandmaster Lei Sixing looked her up and down and said coldly, if we didn't want to build a good relationship with your Brahma ancestral land, we would have attacked long ago. Who do you think you are, bitches? As long as our Lord gives the order, your Tian Fan ancestral land will be flattened immediately. Come on. Our Brahma ancestral land doesn't fear any power. Your Jade God ancestral land wants to swallow us up and treat us well. Isn't that just a forced marriage? If we weren't female cultivators, you would have already flattened us. Why would you still be polite to us? Fairy Fan Yu sneered, I advise you to give up. Our Tian Fan ancestral land will never become your vassal. If we really become your vassal, how are we different from the women of the Spring Garden? Spring Garden was actually a restaurant that pleased people. In order to gain the favor of the customers, the women inside were willing to obey any order. Quite arrogant? Lei Sixing sized her up with a dirty look and said with a sinister smile, "I feel that you guys are no different from the spring garden. Since you've put it this way, let's not be polite anymore. Let's grab her and let her know our power." Ha! Everyone laughed heartily and quickly surrounded him. This time, they didn't hold back and used all kinds of methods to attack Fairy Fanyu. Their attacks were extremely despicable, targeting her private areas. Shameless. Fairy Fanyu's face turned red as she kept attacking. But how could she resist so many multi-star masters by herself? Her cultivation was at the late-stage star master level. It was impossible for her to deal with so many cultivators at once. "Don't worry, I'll make you happy." Lei Si sneered and continued to attack. He wasn't trying to kill her, but mainly to tease her. To them, it was impossible for Fairy Fanyu to escape. How could she escape when surrounded by so many people? Therefore, they didn't need to worry. "Even if I die, I won't let you have your way." Fairy Fanyu gripped the celestial crystal tightly and increased her strength. "If that's the case, I'll crush this celestial crystal and none of you will get it." The celestial crystal was not indestructible. With Fairy Fanyu's cultivation, she could still crush it. "If you crush it, not only will we humiliate you, but we'll also strip you naked and drag you outside as a public display." Lei Si said fiercely, "Anyway, we can still find celestial crystal here. You're not the only one." Fairy Fanyu's face turned pale. This situation was disgusting. If that really happened, her reputation would be ruined. "Don't even think about self-destructing. With our strength, we can definitely control you before you self-destruct. It might even make it easier for us to capture you," Lei Si said confidently. He wasn't worried that Fairy Fanyu would choose to self-destruct. Self-destruction required a certain amount of time and the resistance would be weakened. After all, the power was gathered in the body. How could it be self-destruction? "Don't worry, I won't self-destruct. I'll fight until the very last moment." Fairy Fanyu's eyes were cold. She was ready to die. She wouldn't beg for mercy or commit suicide. She just wanted to bring these bastards to hell before she died. At this moment, a figure approached their battle area and attracted their attention. Someone came and, "Maybe he heard our conversation just now. We can't let him live." Master Xing suggested. If the news of how they treated Fairy Fanyu got out, they would definitely be disliked by Tianfan Ancestral Land. Especially since Fairy Fanyu's status was quite high, Tianfan Ancestral Land might be enraged. Fairy Fanyu's eyes lit up when she saw the person. She quickly yelled, "Mister, hurry up and run. They want to kill you. After you escape, please spread the news that I was killed by Jade God Ancestral Land. Please." She could only use this method and hope that Yi Tianyun could help her. She couldn't repay him, but this was the only way to let Tianfan Ancestral Land know the details. Chapter 1931. The words, "I'm not here to deliver a message," stunned Les and the others. They had not expected that the cultivator who had suddenly appeared would not know what was going on. Furthermore, he walked in as he spoke, saving them the trouble of chasing after him. After all, if the other party had turned and fled, he could have fled into the fog. Even if it was a little dangerous, he could at least avoid being chased. However, the other party did not flee. Instead, he foolishly walked in their direction. They had strange expressions and almost burst out laughing. "Surround him!" In the blink of an eye, 5 star masters surrounded Yi Tianyun, blocking his path of retreat. There was almost no chance of him escaping. Fairy Fanyu felt sorrowful when she saw this. She had not expected the cultivator who had suddenly appeared to not know what was going on. As long as one was not deaf, they would have heard Les and the others say that they would not let him off. However, he did not even flee. "You look unfamiliar. I wonder which faction you are from?" The one who surrounded Yi Tianyun was Administrator Jie Yun of the Jade God Ancestral Land. He was on the same level as Administrator Les and was a late-stage star master. He was one of their leaders. Administrator Jie Yun sized up Yi Tianyun, trying to see the characteristics of a faction. "Administrator Jie Yun, do you even need to care about that? No matter what faction it is, Can it be stronger than our Jade God ancestral land? Administrator Les laughed sinisterly. He did not care about it at all. In this region, the Jade God ancestral land was the strongest. They could do whatever they wanted and kill whoever they wanted. Why would they care about the other party? That's not true. Our Jade God ancestral land needs to know what kind of power the other party is. We need to see which power is so stupid as to raise such a fool. Enforcer Cloud laughed, and the other enforcers joined in. Not fleeing after seeing so many Star Masters? How could they not be stupid? They really wanted to see which faction was so stupid to nurture a Star Master, only to have him die here. Those who could enter this place had to be at least Star Master. As for Star Venerates, they did not think that Tianyun could be a Star Venerate. If he was, they would definitely know who he was. There were only so many ancestral lands and so many Star Venerates. How could they not know? Hence, from the start, they believed that Tianyun was not a Star Lord and was at most a late-stage Master Xing. He's just a passerby. Don't hurt the innocent. Fairy Fan Yu yelled, if you want to deal with someone, deal with me. Oh, you even care about others? You can't even protect yourself, yet you still care about others. What an idiot. Deacon Leith sneered and looked at Tianyun with disdain. He's just like him, an idiot. Do you think we're as stupid as him? If we really let him go, do you think that if the Brahma ancestral land were to find out? Although there's nothing to fear, there would still be some problems. If we kill you here, no one will know. Who knows if you were killed by those demonic beasts? Deacon Leith would not let Tianyun go. Only an idiot would do such a thing. Brat, I asked you a question. Why aren't you saying anything? Deacon Chieyun looked at Tianyun in annoyance. The other party completely ignored his question. Tianyun looked up at him and said indifferently, generally speaking, I don't want to talk to people who are about to die, but I will make an exception to say a few words. Your ancestral land of Jade God is too arrogant. Do you really think that no one in this world can stop you? Stop us? Enforcers Chieyun and the others stared blankly for a moment before bursting into laughter. Enforcers Chieyun laughed so hard that tears came out of his eyes. You think you can control us? Did you just come from the mountains? Do you know what power we are? He probably really came from the mountains. Otherwise, why would he ask such a question? Many factions that know about our Jade God ancestral land are already pissing their pants in fear. Why would they continue to come here? Deacon Leith shook his head and said, I didn't expect it to be so fun this time. I even met some people who were cultivating in the deep mountains and forests. I don't know how long they cultivated before coming out, so they don't know anything. They thought that Tianyun was an idiot who didn't know anything about the outside world. If he knew, why didn't he run away? Fairy Fan Yu sighed deeply and looked at Tianyun with some sympathy. Facing their mocking gazes, Yin shook his head. I know that your Jade God ancestral land is full of arrogant people. In a while, I'll definitely flatten your Jade God ancestral land. Listen, what did we just hear? This brat wants to flatten our Jade God ancestral land? Deacon Chieyun laughed so hard that his stomach hurt. How was this an idiot? He was simply a weirdo. Brat, there are so many factions here, but no one dares to say such a thing. If anyone dares to say such a thing, they will have their entire clan executed. Deacon Leith smiled coldly. However, you are lucky. This time I will only kill you. I hope that your faction does not have so many idiots. If you say anything wrong, you will die without a grave. Alright, let's not waste our breath on him. It's time to send him up. After that, we can focus on playing with Fairy Fan Yu. She is very famous outside. Deacon Chieyun smiled sinisterly. When they prepared to turn around and attack Tianyun, a horrifying force pressed down. The image of a 5-colored sovereign dragon soared into the sky and pressed down. Boom, boom, boom. Grandmaster Xing, who had surrounded Shaochen, directly turned to dust. Even Deacon Chieyun, who had not even finished speaking, died. The aura of a Star Venerate spread into the surroundings, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. Fear immediately welled up in them. Star Venerate? Deacon Leith, who was far away, was forced back by this aura. At the same time, he was stupefied. The other star venerates, including those who were still alive, were all scared silly by this scene. Such a young cultivator, the brat that was mocked earlier, was actually a star venerate? This was especially so when they saw the five-colored sovereign dragon soar into the sky. Even in the mist-shrouded five-element mountain, that vast and unique star aspect still shone brightly in the starry sky above. Nothing could stop this power. Fairy Fanyu, who had been in despair, was also scared silly. A fledgling cultivator, and a star venerate at that. Chapter 1932. It was not that they had never seen a star venerate before. In fact, they often saw star venerates and interacted with them. However, the fact that Yi Tianyun was a star venerate was beyond their expectations. They had thought that he would be a great master Xing of some small faction. Who knew that he would become a star venerate in the blink of an eye? This was a star venerate. In this area, the ground would tremble when they stepped on it. This was the goal of most cultivators. As long as they became a star venerate, they could stand above billions of people. However, most cultivators could not break through to star venerate in their entire lives. The difficulty of breaking through was too high. They could only stop at star venerate or great master Xing. Now, Yi Tianyun, someone they had never seen before, was actually a star venerate. They could not accept this. With a star venerate, how could they fight? No matter how close they were to the star venerate level, if they were not star venerates, they were not star venerates. Especially a star venerate with a unique star aspect. You are the cultivator who had the mysterious phenomenon last time? But that's not right. You are a star venerate. How can you not awaken your star aspect? Administrator Lei Si could not believe the scene in front of him. However, after seeing the situation, he somewhat believed that the mysterious phenomenon last time was caused by Yi Tianyun. However, it did not make sense. Why was he so strong and had only just awakened his star aspect? No matter what, they had already offended Yi Tianyun. Not to mention killing Yi Tianyun, they could not even protect themselves. Is this very important? Yi Tianyun walked over step by step and said indifferently, "Isn't the most important thing now how to beg for mercy?" Administrator Lei Si's eyes darkened. He smiled coldly and said, "Your cultivation is much stronger than ours. We admit this. However, it is impossible for us to beg for mercy. How can our Jade God ancestral land beg for mercy from you? Even if your cultivation is not bad, you are still far from our Jade God ancestral land's Lord Star Venerate. As long as you choose to join our Jade God ancestral land and submit your faction to us, we will not pursue this matter." If Deacon Xie Yun and the others had died in vain, they would have roped him in just like that. This was the cruelty of reality. As long as one's strength was inferior to others, they would be completely degraded and abandoned. Oh, in that case, you won't pursue the matter of me killing so many of your star masters? Yi Tianyun smiled. Sure enough, these powers were carved from the same mold. They all chose to abandon their own people and rope in others. This kind of behavior was absolutely not allowed in his faction. He was not even willing to exchange for an ordinary soldier, let alone such a powerful cultivator. After all, doing so would only make his forces more and more chaotic. The ancestral land of Jade God dared to do this because they wanted to rope them in to do things for them. To put it bluntly, they just wanted to make use of them. It was impossible for them to treat them as their own. At the same time, the ancestral land of the Jade God knew that he could suppress them, which was why they kept trying to rope him in. No matter what, it was better to have a ready-made power than to nurture it slowly. Therefore, a small loss was still worth it. We won't pursue the matter. After the shock, Deacon Les had already calmed down. There was no contempt in his eyes, but he was a bit cautious. However, if you don't join us, we will definitely pursue the matter to the end. He was not afraid of Yi Tianyun at all. This was the confidence of having a backer. They thought that the ancestral land of the Jade God was invincible. As long as they gave the order, no faction could not be wiped out. At the same time, he took out a jade token and said in a deep voice, Now, your every move is recorded in this jade token. As long as you kill us, the news will immediately be sent out. Even here, it can still be sent out. This is supported by Lord Star-Lord's powerful strength. In the depths of the 5-element mountain, it was not easy to send messages out. Originally, it was not difficult to send messages, but it became extremely difficult here. He hoped that he would not have to use this jade token. The Star Lord of the Jade God Ancestral Land had paid a huge price to make this jade token. If it was easy to make, Fairy Fan, you would have already had it. If one wanted to send a message here, they would have to pay a huge price. Unless it was a critical moment, they would not use it. Is this a threat? Yi Tianyun said with a light smile. We just want to cooperate. You won't lose out if you join our ancestral land of the Jade God. Deacon Les said calmly. Fairy Fan Yu panicked and said in a hurry, don't listen to his nonsense. If you join them, your faction and yourself will lose your freedom. You will be under their control. The ancestral land of the Jade God is famous for being shameless. They keep taking in other factions and want to completely control this area. Shut up. You don't have the right to speak here. Capture her. Deacon Les' eyes turned cold. If they did not have to deal with Yi Tianyun, they would have already captured Fairy Fan Yu. After giving the order, he turned to Yi Tianyun and said with a smile, as long as you agree to join us, this Fairy Fan Yu will be given to you as a meeting gift. If we can take down the ancestral land of the Heavenly Brahmin, there are many female cultivators there for you to choose from. What do you think? They wanted to keep her for themselves, but Yi Tianyun was a celestial lord after all. He could not ignore a celestial lord just because he had a strong backing. If they really joined, Deacon Les and the others would have to obey Yi Tianyun's orders. Fairy Fan Yu's face turned pale from anger. She roared at them, I am not your commodity. They did not even capture her and offered her as a top tier. It was truly a tragedy. Not now, but soon. Deacon Lei Si sneered and turned to look at Yi Tianyun, wanting to see what his decision is. Tianyun touched his chin and looked at them with a smile. Do you have any last words? But these words only prove the shamelessness of your ancestral land of the Jade God. I don't even have the appetite to eat with you guys. It's so disgusting. Deacon Les's eyes darkened. It seems you really want to go against our ancestral land of the Jade God. We have 3 lords in the late stage of celestial lords and even star venerables. Do you really think you are omnipotent and can overthrow our ancestral land of the Jade God? By the way, the celestial lord of the celestial pole ancestral land said the same thing to me before I killed him. Yi Tianyun said calmly, if I destroy the celestial pole ancestral land, which is a dog of your ancestral land of the Jade God, will you let me go? Chapter 1933. How about it? Will you let me go after I kill your dog and take control of your ancestral land? Yi Tianyun smiled and added, by the way, if I choose to join you, will you allow me to make such a mistake? Deacon Rice was silent for a moment before saying, if you choose to join us, we won't hold you accountable. A dog is a dog. If I get killed one day, I'm afraid they won't bother to hold me accountable as long as the other party joins them. Yi Tianyun shook his head. The Celestial Terminus Lord is really sad. He said that the ancestral land of the Jade God would definitely avenge him. Now it seems so ridiculous. If you lose it, you have no value and will naturally be abandoned. He knew why the other party made such a choice. If he was dead, what was the point of revenge? They needed the power to live, not the power to die. Although Deacon Rice was not an elder, his decision was basically the same as the elder's decision. It was not that he had too much power, but that they all had similar ideas. What they needed was the power to live. If you have no value, you will naturally be abandoned. Whether it is joining our forces or ourselves, if you have no value, you will be eliminated, Deacon Rice said indifferently. Don't you even understand this? Of course I understand this, but compared to you, I'm more like a person. Yi Tianyun grinned. So, go to hell. The 5-colored Emperor Dragon Phantom appeared behind Yi Tianyun again and pressed forward, wanting to completely kill them. Deacon Rice quickly crushed the jade pendant and did not even bother to dodge. Instead, he laughed crazily. You will know the difference between you and the ancestral land of the Jade God. In front of the ancestral land of the Jade God, you are nothing. Lord Taibai Jinxing will definitely avenge us, ha. He laughed. Facing death, they were naturally afraid. But this was a Star Lord with a unique star dharma. Could they escape? Naturally, they could not escape. They could only curse Tianyun before they died. In the end, Deacon Rice and the others were easily killed. No matter how they resisted, no one could resist the suppression of the five-colored Emperor Dragon. After destroying it, Tianyun's expression was relaxed. He didn't feel the slightest bit of fear because the information had been sent out. The ancestral land of the Jade God wouldn't let him go even if he didn't send a message. Of course, when he sent people over, he would definitely try to rope them in. But now, they would not try to rope him in. Instead, they would directly come to kill him. Deacon Les had already sent the message, so it was naturally impossible to rope him in. If he didn't want to recruit him now, then he wouldn't be able to recruit him in the future. At the same time, the message was quickly transmitted to the Jade God ancestral ground. The Azure Flames Star Monarch, who was studying the situation, suddenly received a message. After reading it, his expression did not change. Oh, a unique astral dermic incarnation and a star venerate cultivation. This is rather peculiar. He even killed a celestial sovereign of the celestial pole ancestral land and refused to join our Jade God ancestral land. Emerald Flame Star Sovereign expressionlessly read the news without showing any anger or sadness. Someone dares to challenge the dignity of our Jade God ancestral land? Ridiculous. So what if he has a unique astral dermic incarnation? So what if he is a star venerate? He is just a joke before us. Based on Metal Wind Star Sovereign's bad temper, he will probably eliminate him immediately. He shook his head and continued with his research, not caring about this matter at all. In his opinion, it was enough for someone to deal with it. As for sending 3 star venerates, that was impossible. Sure enough, on the other side, Metal Wind Star Sovereign was so angry that he almost blew up the palace. He dares to ignore our Jade God ancestral land? It looks like our Jade God ancestral land hasn't made a move for a long time. How dare an insignificant star venerate attack us? Metal Wind Star Sovereign roared, deep in the 5-element mountain? Very well, I will go and meet him now. I will kill him in the 5-element mountain with one slap. Metal Wind Star Monarch immediately turned into a golden light and flew towards the 5 Elements mountain at an extremely fast speed. He tore through the sky and quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. Metal Wind Star Sovereign made a move. It looks like that guy is finished. Isn't that for sure? An ancestral land angered Metal Wind Star Sovereign a long time ago. Metal Wind Star Sovereign killed his way out immediately. When he returned, that ancestral land was flattened, leaving no one alive. Metal Wind Star Sovereign is too strong. I wonder what his true strength is. Who can make Metal Wind Star Sovereign use his full power? This time, the one who came out will probably not even need half of his strength to destroy them. They discussed this matter with great interest. They were all wondering when Tianyun would be destroyed. Some bet on a week's time, some 3 days, and some slightly longer, around a month's time. In their opinion, Tianyun would die without a doubt. No matter how famous he was in the outside world, he would be destroyed in one fell swoop. A long time ago, some factions opposed the Jade God ancestral land, but they never showed up again. That was because they were all destroyed. When the news spread in the Jade God ancestral land, most people treated it as a joke. Unique celestial dermic phases? Star venerates? They were all fake. Only the Jade God ancestral land was invincible in the world. On the other hand, Tianyun didn't know anything about this. He was busy looting all the treasures of Deacon Leith and the others. How could he miss out on so many treasures? Fairy Fan Yu watched from the side with complicated feelings. No one knew what she was thinking. Fairy Fan Yu thought for a moment. Seeing that he was not hostile towards her, she said gratefully, "Thank you for saving me, saving you." Tianyun smiled. "Technically speaking, I didn't really save you. It just so happens that the Jade God Ancestral Land has a feud with me, so I just destroyed them. Even so, if it weren't for you, I would have been killed by them. Fan Yu Fairy shook her head, but when she was about to continue, she found that Yi Tianyun had already walked inside. He didn't even pay attention to her. She was startled at first, then furious. She was praised by everyone in the outside world. She never thought that Yi Tianyun would not even look at her. But thinking about it, it was normal for him to look down on her with his star venerate cultivation. Wait! Fairy Fan Yu hurried over and said, "How can you do this? I haven't even finished speaking, and you've already left." Yi Tianyun turned to look at her and smiled. "What? You want to repay me?" Fairy Fan Yu was furious. She glared at him and said, "The times have changed. You even want to repay? You must have come for the 9 Revolution Stargrass, right?" "That's right, I do want to find the 9 Revolution Stargrass." Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. "You actually want to use the celestial crystal stones as repayment, right? But since you seem to be in a hurry, use it yourself. I hope you can find it." Chapter 1934. Yi Tianyun's words stunned Goddess Fan Yu. He didn't play by the rules. Normally, he would choose to take the Heaven Crystal Stone. However, Yi Tianyun didn't do that and chose to search for it himself. The Heaven Crystal Stone was used to search for the 9 Revolutions Stargrass. It could give a rough direction and make it easier to search for it. It was extremely difficult to find the 9 Revolution Stargrass in such a vast place. It was definitely not an easy task. Therefore, they needed the 9 Revolution Stargrass to be easier to find. They could also find it without the Heaven Crystal Stone. However, the chances were extremely low and they needed great luck to get it. The best proof of this was when he tried to take the Heaven Crystal Stone from Goddess Fan Yu. Deacon Les and the others could only rely on the Heaven Crystal Stone to find the 9 Revolution Stargrass. Those who entered this place were basically heading straight for the 9 Revolutions Stargrass. It was far more powerful than the Golden Divine Grass. The two weren't even on the same level. Now that Yi Tianyun was looking for the 9 Revolution Stargrass, he needed the Heaven Crystal Stone. Goddess Fan Yu thought that Yi Tianyun would immediately ask for the reward after she said it. However, he gave a completely different answer. How can you say that? Aren't you looking for the 9 Revolution Stargrass? Without the Heaven Crystal Stone, it will be very difficult for you to find it." Goddess Fan Yu took out the Heaven Crystal Stone and waved it in front of Yi Tianyun, trying to tempt him. "I'm looking for the 9 Revolution Stargrass, but I don't expect to take something from a woman." Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. Goddess Fan Yu was about to explode. She stuffed the Heaven Crystal Stone into Yi Tianyun's hands and said angrily, "I, Fan Yu, never want to owe anyone a favor. This is part of the reward. I can accompany you to find the 9 Revolution Stargrass for the rest of the reward. I believe that no one knows how to find the 9 Revolution Stargrass better than our Tianfan ancestral land." "Oh, if you give this to me, won't your fellow sect members have any objections?" Yi Tianyun held onto the Heaven Crystal Stone. It would be even better if he had the Heaven Crystal Stone. "I came in alone," Goddess Fan Yu said calmly. You're the only one who came in. Looks like you've got guts. This place is so dangerous, and you came in alone. Even if you want to die, you don't have to play like this, right?" Yi Tianyun found it very funny. He didn't know whether to say that she was bold or too confident. This place was filled with danger. Even a star venerate could fall here, much less a late-stage Grandmaster Xing. I've said it before. No one is more proficient than our Brahma ancestral land in finding the 9 Revolution Stargrass. Fairy Fan Yu said proudly, "At least half of the 9 Revolution Stargrasses in the Elemental Mountain have been plucked by our Brahmin ancestral land." "Oh, it looks like you're quite familiar with this place?" Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. He did not expect this. Of course. Every time the 9 Revolution Stargrass is about to mature, our Brahma ancestral land will have a trial for the goddess. They will pick out the most outstanding disciples and come in to find the 9 Revolution Stargrass. If they successfully pluck it, they will become the new goddess. Fairy Fan Yu still had some pride. She even raised her nose high. You mean you're the most outstanding disciple of the new generation? Lee Tianyun found it funny. That's right. I'm the most outstanding disciple. I'm quite familiar with this place. If I lead the way, you'll find it easier. Fairy Fan Yu smiled proudly. No matter how outstanding you are, you're still surrounded by the Jade God ancestral land. If I did not help you, you would have died here, Tianyun said. You. Fairy Fan Yu's pride immediately dissipated. Her tone weakened. If I put my life on the line, I could have killed some of them too. At most, we'll just die together. There was no point in saying more. It was indeed a blow to her that she almost died. All right, you're the best. It's just that your trial is stricter. You should have sent more people to protect you. It's dangerous enough already. Lee Tianyun frowned. Even if it was a trial, there was no need to do it like this, right? If more people surrounded them, they would be dead for sure. All along, we've been following this rule. That's the only way we can display our abilities. Fairy Fan Yu shook her head. Plus, we came in with a map. It won't be too dangerous as long as we don't run around randomly. This is all because of the shamelessness of the Jade God ancestral land. You even have a map. No wonder you're so confident. Lee Tianyun smiled. But if I take the 9 revolution stargrass when we find it, you won't be able to explain yourself. It doesn't matter. I can only wait for the next 9 revolution stargrass to mature. I will still have a chance then. Fairy Fan Yu was not dejected at all. You saved me after all and helped me get rid of those shameless cultivators of the Jade God ancestral land. Tell Master and the others when we get back. They will understand. Tianyun looked at her deeply, then smiled and said, All right, since you've said it like this, I'll have to trouble you to lead the way. Fairy Fan Yu finally looked more confident. No problem, as long as I lead the way, there won't be any problems. Goddess Fan Yu brought Lee Tianyun inside. She didn't even take the heaven crystals with her. Generally speaking, it should be within this region. However, as to exactly where it is, we'll need the heaven crystal stones to find out. Fairy Fan Yu stopped and looked around. She then pointed forward and said, It's roughly this way. She brought Lee Tianyun and flew forward. The front was filled with mist again, but Fairy Fan Yu wasn't worried at all. She had memorized all the directions in her mind, so she wasn't afraid of getting lost. After a few rounds, they quickly came out of the mist. Not far away, the heavenly crystal stone in Lee Tianyun's hand began to emit a faint light, and a circle of halos spread around. Without a doubt, it sensed the 9 revolution stargrass. Looks like it's nearby. It should be this way. Fairy Fan Yu continued to bring Lee Tianyun forward. After a few rounds, there was a small gap in front of them. At this moment, the heaven crystal in Lee Tianyun's hand was glowing brighter and brighter, as if it was going to explode at any time. It's inside. Fairy Fan Yu was surprised. Looks like it's really easy. We found it so quickly. Fairy Fan Yu flew in first while Lee Tianyun followed behind. As soon as they passed through the gap, there was an exclamation. Senior Sister Yun, why are you here? Who are they? Chapter 1935. Acquaintances? Lee Tianyun immediately felt something was wrong when he saw them. Especially when he saw the cultivators from Jade God ancestral land, he knew that things weren't as simple as they seemed. Now Fairy Fan Yu even saw acquaintances. They were supposed to be enemies, but now they were here. It was clear what it meant. Fairy Fan Yu was startled at first before she reacted. She wasn't an idiot and immediately knew what was going on. Senior Sister Yu ran. You colluded with the people from Jade God ancestral land and came in without permission. Fairy Fan Yu pointed at Senior Sister Yu ran furiously. Anyone who wasn't blind would know what was going on. Especially since this was the trial to become the goddess. The people from Tian Fan ancestral land couldn't come in together. Even if he had followed them here, he would have stayed outside instead of coming in. You didn't die? Senior Sister Yu Ran looked at Fairy Fan Yu in shock. Her face turned cold after she saw who it was. I didn't expect you to be able to escape from so many people. Your people aren't strong enough. It's different from what you said before. Didn't you say they would definitely be able to solve it? Senior Sister Yuran looked at the 3 Star Masters. The 3 of them moved immediately and went to the exit. This was a secret room with only a small gap as the exit. There was basically no hope of escape after blocking this place. You do have some ability to escape from so many deacons. Deacon Shu Lang glanced at Fairy Fan Yu before turning to Tianyan. You even brought a helper. Looks like the rules of your Tian Fan ancestral land are broken too. That's true. He looks quite handsome. Senior Sister Yuran smiled. Little Junior Sister, you said I broke the rules. Didn't you break the rules yourself? Who knows where you hooked up with him and snuck in here for the trial? What a good plan. Senior Sister Yuran, answer me. Did you betray the sect a long time ago? Fairy Fan Yu's aura rose as a sharp murderous intent surged out. A soft sword appeared in her hand out of nowhere. Her eyes were filled with anger as she gathered all her strength, ready to fight Senior Sister Yuran. Betray the sect? Senior Sister Yuran's aura also surged as she retorted, that's because the sect was the first to betray me. The one who came to participate in the goddess trial should have been me, not you. We've already agreed on this before. Who knew that you would suddenly change your mind? You even said that I'm not talented enough. Whether in terms of talent or beauty, how am I inferior to you? Even his cultivation is higher than yours. Senior Sister Yuran retorted, what ability do you have? You came out of nowhere and snatched away the position that originally belonged to me. Since that's the case, I'll come in myself and take what belongs to me. Take away what belongs to you. There's only 9 revolution star grass. Do you think you have the chance to take it? Goddess Fan Yu glanced at the cultivators from the Jade God ancestral land. I wonder what you promised them that they would give you the 9 revolution star grass. 9 revolution star grass? They're not interested. Senior Apprentice Sister Yuran smiled brightly. They have their eyes on the beautiful flower that is the Brahma ancestral land. As long as I help them infiltrate it, everything will be mine. Even the position of ruler of the Brahma ancestral land will be mine. Her twisted expression was not beautiful at all. In fact, it was a little terrifying. As expected, every time there's a power struggle, it always ends up in an unpleasant situation. Lee Tianyun shook his head and said indifferently, I finally know why they didn't choose you to be the goddess. With your selfish thoughts, it's only natural that you can't become the goddess. If you really become the goddess, the Brahma ancestral land will be finished. Or you. What gives you the right to speak to me like that? Do you know how much effort I put in to get this position? I worked so hard, I was so loyal, but it was snatched away in an instant. Do you know how it feels? Senior Apprentice Sister Yuran was going crazy as she roared at him. I don't know how it feels, and I don't want to know. I only know that you said so much. From the moment you betrayed us, you are nothing. Lee Tianyun said indifferently, I don't know, it's just a test, or something else is arranged for you, I can't say for sure. But no matter what, you have no way out. That's right, Senior Apprentice Sister Yuran. We have always admired and respected you. We feel that you are very hardworking and talented. I don't know why the elders made such a choice, but they must have their reasons. Fairy Fan Yu walked towards Senior Apprentice Sister Yuran. No matter what, I will clean up the sect today. She held her soft sword and flicked it lightly. Silver light shone. You think you can defeat me? Senior Apprentice Sister Yuran sneered. Then I will let you know the difference between us. Immediately, the 2 of them started fighting. The 3 deacons who were blocking the exit looked over with interest. They were not anxious at all. Little brother, which force are you from? Deacon Shu Lang was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he asked from behind. Lee Tianyun could not be bothered with him. He just watched their fight from the side. I'm asking you a question. Deacon Shu Lang was furious. He did not expect his words to be ignored by the other party. Can you not disturb me? Lee Tianyun turned his head and looked at him plainly. You can do whatever you want. Just wait until this fight is over. How courageous! Deacon Shu Lang's eyes darkened. Then he laughed. You will soon see your Dao companion being killed on the spot. Yuran is not weak. How can Fairy Fan Yu compare to her? Hee, not only is she strong, she is also not weak in any aspect. The deacon at the side chuckled. The three of them laughed sinisterly. It seemed like they had done something. Yi Tianyun felt disgusted at the side. It seemed like Yu Ran had betrayed him and done such a thing. Although they had made their own choices, it was still disgusting. Can she win? Yi Tianyun shook his head. I don't think so. Fairy Fan Yu is not weak. Soon, the two of them started fighting. Initially, Fairy Yu Ran was very strong. However, she was gradually suppressed by Fairy Fan Yu. In the end, she was completely suppressed. Boom! Fairy Yu Ran was sent flying. She was heavily injured and leaned against the wall. She looked at Fairy Fan Yu in disbelief. You have mastered the decisive sword art? The decisive sword art was one of the great martial arts of the Tian Fan ancestral land. It was extremely difficult to cultivate. Chapter 1936. Fairy Fan Yu wasn't very familiar with it, but after being stimulated by Fairy Yu Ran, she immediately became familiar with it and improved her resolute sword technique. This was an emotional stimulation that greatly stimulated her, allowing her to further improve her martial arts in this aspect. Some martial arts required a certain level of emotional integration in order to be better cultivated. For example, the emotionless sword technique was difficult to cultivate if one wasn't emotionless enough. As for her resolute sword technique, it was actually similar to the emotionless sword technique. After being betrayed by Fairy Yu Ran, her talent was stimulated and improved. This kind of thing wasn't strange. In fact, it was common. You learned it after seeing me? Fairy Yu Ran was startled, but she didn't think too much about it. She shouted at the helpers in front of her, "Why are you all still standing there? Kill her. If she escapes, not only will I be finished, but you will also be finished." Now that the plan had been leaked, they would naturally be punished. As for what kind of punishment they would receive, it was hard to say. The plan had been going so smoothly, and there was such a good spy. If it was exposed, everything would be over. Deacon Shu Lang and the rest were startled. They hadn't expected Fairy Yu Ran to really lose. Previously, they had boasted that Fairy Yu Ran would definitely win. Now, it seemed like their prediction was wrong. Kill this brat first to prevent him from escaping. Deacon Shu Lang wasn't in a hurry to save Fairy Yu Ran. Instead, he planned to kill Yi Tianyun first. If Yi Tianyun escaped, the plan would also fail. Yi Tianyun looked at them pouncing at him with an indifferent expression. Why aren't you going to save your little lover? If you are too late, it will be too late. Fairy Yu Ran laughed bitterly. She hadn't expected to lose. Although she was a little unwilling, they still had the advantage. How could so many multi-star masters not be able to deal with Fairy Fan Yu? Especially since they were from the Jade God ancestral land, the martial arts they possessed were of different levels. Save him? Fairy Fan Yu smiled and looked at her. Does he need me to save him? As soon as he finished speaking, the 5-colored monarch dragon's silhouette appeared, instantly forcing the 3 deacons to kneel on the ground. Forget killing Yi Tianyun, they couldn't even touch him. Lord Tai Bai jinxing? They were extremely shocked. They didn't expect the young man in front of them to be a Star Lord. This was extremely inconceivable. Unexpectedly, the person before them was a Star Venerate. When Fairy Yu Ran sensed this power, her face turned deathly pale. Then, she tilted her head back and laughed. I didn't expect you to win in the end. I lost to you in the selection of the goddess and in terms of helpers. Why is the heavens so unfair? She laughed and cried. Her eyes were filled with anger and resentment, but she had no other choice. With a Star Venerate by his side, what was there to be afraid of? Unless a Star Venerate came, there was no need to fear them. At least for now, they were doomed. Which faction are you from? We are from the ancestral land of the Jade God. Don't you dare act recklessly. Deacon Shu Lang and the others shouted, hinting Yi Tianyun not to be rash. Acting recklessly? I was the one who wanted to tell you not to act recklessly. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, by the way, I killed all those who tried to act recklessly against me. Deacon Lei Si, Deacon Sha Yun, Do you think the ancestral land of the Jade God will let me off? Deacon Shu Lang and the others paled. They were all killed by you. Van Yun did not answer them. Instead, he used his actions to answer them. He stomped on them, causing them to explode and dissipate into blood mist. He naturally did not care about the ancestral land of the Jade God. Even Deacon Lei Si and the others had been killed, let alone these three idiots. All of them have been dealt with. How are you going to deal with her? Yi Tanyun glanced at Fairy Yu Ran. Are you going to capture her and bring her back for punishment, or are you going to kill her here? Fairy Fan Yu looked at her coldly and said, let's capture her and let the elders judge her. In the end, she did not kill Fairy Yu Ran. She was furious, but when she thought about how she could alert the elders of the ancestral land, she decided to bring her back. All right, it's up to you. Yi Tianyun shifted his gaze to the side. There was also a stalk of grass in the corner of the wall. It was very inconspicuous. Just like the golden divine grass, it was also very inconspicuous. This was a sign of self-protection. It wanted to keep a low profile and hide itself. However, no matter how low profile it was useless after so many years of research. Unless they knew how to change their bodies and hide themselves in another way. Is this the 9 Revolution Star Grass? Yeonyun looked at the inconspicuous 9 Revolution Star Grass. He knew that it would definitely shine brightly when it matured. That's right, this is the 9 Revolution Star Grass, the divine medicine that many cultivators have been yearning for. Fairy Fan Yu looked at the 9 Revolution Star Grass with some desire in her eyes. If she could obtain it, she would be able to complete the trial and become a goddess. However, she had to give it to Yi Tianyun as a reward for saving her. It's called a divine medicine, but it's still based on the probability. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. It's just that the probability is higher. It doesn't mean that there will be a huge increase. If every stalk had such amazing effects, your Tian Fan ancestral land would have dominated the ancestral land a long time ago. Fairy Fan Yu did not refute. She nodded and said, that's indeed the case. The rumors outside are too fierce. No matter what kind of divine medicine it is, it doesn't mean that it will have amazing effects, especially when it comes to increasing the power of the stars. Even with the help of a divine medicine, there is no guarantee of success. On the other hand, one's cultivation can really increase by a large margin. A divine medicine could allow one's cultivation to break through from an ordinary person to a star master, or even a star grandmaster. However, it really depended on luck to increase the power of the stars. Of course, if one was only at the first level, they would definitely increase their cultivation by consuming this thing. However, the success rate for those who were at the 4th or 5th level and above was extremely low. There was a huge difference between the two. If one's cultivation increased too quickly, their foundation would be unstable and they would not be able to break through in the future. On the other hand, the higher the power of the stars, the better. They could not wait to kill their way to the 6th level, or even the unique star avatar level. This would not have any negative effects on him, only positive effects. It could be said that there were only benefits and no disadvantages. Under such circumstances, the difficulty naturally increased. Even the godly medicine was a little powerless. Chapter 1937. Whether it's effective or not, I'll only know after I consume it. Yi Tianyun naturally doesn't know much about it. He hasn't used it before. How could he know the details? But, are you reluctant to part with it? Yi Tianyun smiled at her. How can that be? I said I would give it to you. I will never go back on my word. Fairy Fan Yu said firmly. Even if it doesn't work, I will help you obtain the 9 Revolution Stargrass. If I don't do this, I will not be able to understand my thoughts. If one's thoughts were not clear, one's cultivation would be affected. Therefore, those who had received help would always think about how to repay it. Otherwise, they would be stuck at the same level. Of course, it was a different story for those at the level of the devil. There was no such thing as gratitude and gratitude. All right, I won't stand on ceremony then. I really want to know if the 9 Revolution Stargrass can strengthen my power of stars. Yi Tianyun smiled. He wouldn't stand on ceremony. He wouldn't let go of what he deserved. If there was anything that could help him improve, he would take it immediately. He wouldn't let it go. In such an environment, he needed to improve too much. He didn't think that he was invincible. He just wanted to improve a little. Then, he turned his attention to the 9-revolution stargrass. He was waiting for it to mature. It seemed like it wouldn't be long before it matured. Fairy Fan Yu sealed Fairy Yu ran at the side, trapping her here and waiting for the 9-revolution stargrass to be completed. Fairy Yu Ran's movements were sealed. She sat at the side in a daze and didn't say anything. She only laughed hysterically from time to time. No one knew what she was thinking. "What are you laughing at?" Fairy Fan Yu frowned. When she saw Fairy Yu Ran acting crazily at the side, she started to consider sealing Fairy Yu Ran's mouth. Fairy Yu Ran looked at the two of them and laughed. "I'm laughing at the two of you. You are going to die soon. Do you think you can escape after offending the Jade God Ancestral Land? I'm guessing that the Metal Wind Star Lord of the Jade God Ancestral Land will be here soon. Then you will all die." Metal Wind Star Lord? Goddess Fan Yu's expression changed. She obviously knew Goldwind Star Lord's name. She quickly said, "You spread the news here? Is there even a need to send a message?" Fairy Yu Ran sneered and said, "As long as we don't go back, something must have happened. When the time comes, they will investigate. Won't you be discovered?" Fairy Fan Yu let out a sigh of relief. "I thought you sent a message about the exact location. The news of us killing the Deacon of the Jade God Ancestral Land has already been sent back. It's fine as long as they don't know where we are. At least we can pick the 9-revolution star grass safely." When Yi Tianyun killed Deacon Les and the others, he already knew that the news had spread. She was only worried that the location of this place would be revealed. She wasn't too worried about anything else. Fairy Yu Ran was stunned. She thought she would scare Fairy Fan Yu and the others, but it was useless. So what? Metal Wind Star Lord will definitely be waiting outside. Let's see how you escape then. There's only one exit. Run? There's no need to run. We just need to kill our way out. Yi Tianyun said calmly, "Even if the Jade God Ancestral Land doesn't come to take revenge on me, I will go to them. If I come, I can take care of a Star Lord from the Jade God Ancestral Land first." "Ha, what a joke. I admit that you're quite strong, but compared to Metal Wind Star Lord, you're still too weak." Fairy Yu Ran sneered, "You'll be crushed by Metal Wind Star Lord. God knows how many so-called geniuses have been killed by him. You want to kill Metal Wind Star Lord? You're overestimating yourself. Fan Yu, it seems like you've found yourself a megalomaniac. You don't even know the strength of the Jade God Ancestral Land, and yet you say you want to destroy it? Metal Wind Star Lord." Fairy Fan Yu said worriedly, "Metal Wind Star Lord is a hot-tempered guy. He might block the entrance. If we go out, we'll have to face him. Metal Wind Star Lord is very strong, and no one knows how strong he really is. They've all received guidance from Star Venerables. I'm afraid his strength." She started to worry. Metal Wind Star Lord was really strong, and it would be difficult to deal with him. Guidance from Star Venerables? As long as it's not Star Venerables, it doesn't matter to me, Yi Tianyun said calmly. "You're boasting shamelessly." Fairy Yu Ran said disdainfully, "As long as you don't kill me, I'll be able to witness you being killed by Metal Wind Star Lord. I'll definitely see your regretful eyes. Then you'll know what it means to overestimate yourself and hit a rock with an egg. Of course, that's on the premise that you're safe and sound and take the 9-revolution stargrass back. Normally, it's difficult to find this place without a map and celestial crystals." Fairy Fan Yu said in a deep voice, "You can eat the 9-turn stargrass here first, and then go out slowly." After saying this, Fairy Yu Ran saw a hint of mockery in her eyes. Her heart skipped a beat. "Did you hand over the map here?" Fairy Fan Yu said angrily. "Without the celestial crystals and the map, it's difficult to reach this place," Fairy Yu Ran said with a faint smile, "but I don't know why there are so many celestial crystals this year. I just wanted to take them from you, but I didn't expect to find celestial crystals so easily. Now, I'm afraid many strong people can get their hands on celestial crystals. When the 9-turn star grass matures, the celestial crystals will become more accurate. How many experts do you think there will be outside at that time? Who knows, he might have accidentally stumbled into this place. Fairy Yuran laughed. Even the heavens want you dead. If it was the ancestral land of the Jade God, I don't think any faction would dare to take it. Now that it's you who got it, the meaning is different. Fairy Yuran hadn't been worried about this matter. After all, with the protection of the ancestral land of the Jade God, she didn't have to worry about other factions coming. She just needed to tell them her name, and who would dare to do anything. Who knew that a person like Yi Tianyun would appear, ignoring the ancestral land of the Jade God and crushing a group of strong people? You can take the celestial crystals so easily? Fairy Fanyu was shocked. She didn't expect this to happen. When Yi Tianyun heard this, he smiled and said nonchalantly, "No matter who comes, I'll kill anyone who dares to stop me from taking the 9-turn star grass. I'll kill everyone who comes." Chapter 1938. Yi Tianyun welcomed the arrival of many strong enemies. As long as they were not star venerables, he was confident he could kill them. He would get an endless supply of star energy. He wanted to say he wanted to earn some star energy. It was not in his nature to kill innocent people. However, if someone came to make trouble for him, he would not be polite. You are boasting shamelessly. You think you are invincible just because you have some power. I don't know which faction you are from, but this is the ancestral land of the Jade God. Even if the powerhouses of the ancestral land of the Jade God don't come, you will still die if you are surrounded by the other star lords. Fairy Yuran still believed that it was impossible for Yi Tianyun to kill everyone, not even star monarchs. She could not be blamed. After all, the power Yi Tianyun had used was only a small part of it. In her opinion, he had used a very strong power. As long as he did not become a Star Lord, they would not know how strong a Star Lord's power was. Is that so? I am looking forward to it. Yi Tianyun smiled. He sat down and waited for the 9 revolution star grass to ripen. Fairy Yuran shook her head. She still had the same arrogant expression as Yi Tianyun. Fairy Fanyu was worried. She had been worried since the beginning. She did not know how to solve this problem, especially when she heard the name of the Metal Wind Star Lord. Why don't you leave now? If the Metal Wind Star Lord comes, it will be difficult for you to escape. Fairy Fanyu thought for a while and tried to dissuade him. The Metal Wind Star Lord is really different from ordinary Star Lords. Leave this place to me. As soon as I get the 9 revolution star grass, I will come and find you immediately. It was Yi Tianyun, not her, who had killed so many deacons of the ancestral land of the Jade God. Therefore, the Metal Wind Star Lord would not make things difficult for her. Therefore, before the Metal Wind Star Lord came, her priority was to escape. After all, there was only one exit. There were no other exits. It seemed like she was flying casually, but some places were actually dead ends. Once she flew over, she would be in trouble. Even a Star Lord would die. Of course, there must be another exit, but they were not clear about it. At least Fairy Fanyu didn't know there was another exit. Yi Tianyun glanced at her and said with a smile, "It seems that you also think that I can't defeat Metal Wind Star Sovereign?" Well, Fairy Fanyu thought about it and said, "You should be careful. After all, Metal Wind Star Lord is very strong. If you train for a bit longer, you should be fine." Yi Tianyun smiled at her, making her hair stand on end. "What if I say I'm not leaving? What if I want to stay here?" Yi Tianyun said with a smile. "If you really want to stay here, I'll stay with you." Fairy Fanyu also sat down to meditate. Fairy Yuran, who was at the side, laughed mockingly. "You really don't know what's good for you. When the Golden Wind Star Lord arrives, you won't be able to escape even if you want to." But Fairy Yuran turned her face to the side. When she turned her head again, there was a burning handprint on her face. Naturally, it was Yi Tianyun who had slapped her. How dare you hit me?" Fairy Yuran screamed. The most important thing for a female cultivator was their face, especially since she cherished it so much. "If you say one more word, Do you believe that I will scratch your face so badly that you will never recover? Lee Tianyun said calmly. When Fairy Yu Ran heard this, she shut her mouth obediently. She didn't dare to utter another word. She believed that Lee Tianyun would definitely do what he said, and he would not show any mercy. He had made her look neither human nor ghost. It was worse than killing her. However, she looked at Lee Tianyun with hatred. She wanted nothing more than to tear Lee Tianyun apart. However, she couldn't even move, let alone tear Lee Tianyun apart. Time passed quickly, and the 9 revolution star grass gradually matured. At that moment, a few figures came in from outside, and they spoke at the same time. It should be around here. The reaction is very strong. After entering, she immediately exclaimed, "It's really here. There's actually someone here." Fairy Yu Ran turned her head and saw that it was the Sword Wind Star Lord. She was overjoyed. She didn't expect that it would be the Sword Wind Star Lord, a powerful Star Lord. A Star Lord is here, and it's the Sword Wind Star Lord. Let's see if you can survive this time. Fairy Yu Ran was extremely pleased. When Fairy Fan Yu saw the Sword Wind Star Lord enter, her heart tightened. She didn't expect someone else to enter. When she saw the celestial stone in the Sword Wind Star Lord's hand, she knew why he could enter. Indeed, the celestial stone was overflowing. She didn't know why, but there was a lot of it. In the past, the celestial stone was extremely rare, and one would have to pay a huge price to obtain it. It's the Sword Wind Star Lord. I didn't expect a Star Lord to find this place so quickly. Fairy Fan Yu stood up hurriedly and stared at the Sword Wind Star Lord. At that moment, the few Star Masters beside the Sword Wind Star Lord laughed happily. "Lord Sword Wind Star Lord, although we aren't the first, it doesn't seem to make a difference. We can deal with these fellows easily. When the time comes, we can have the 9 revolution star grass for ourselves." That's right. I didn't expect our luck to be so good. We were found just like that. Lord Sword Wind Star Lord is amazing. The few Star Masters shouted happily. They looked at the Sword Wind Star Lord as if they were looking at dead people. Fairy Yu Ran wasn't satisfied, but she still felt great that Lee Tianyun and the others were attacked. Put. At that moment, the few Star Masters who were talking were sent flying by a slap. Many of their teeth were knocked out. "All of you shut up. Do you know who this person is?" The Sword Wind Star Lord complained angrily. He smiled and walked in front of Lee Tianyun. "So this place has already been discovered by you. In that case, I won't disturb you any further." Lee Tianyun glanced at the Sword Wind Star Lord and said indifferently, "Oh, I thought you would fight me for the 9 revolution star grass. I wouldn't dare. Whoever finds it first gets it. That's the rule. They don't know how to speak. Please don't take offense." The Sword Wind Star Lord smiled, but his back was drenched in cold sweat. He had seen Lee Tianyun's strength. In the blink of an eye, 2 Star Lords had been crushed. Even he couldn't do that. Lee Tianyun didn't even bother to look at him. He reached out his hand and slapped the Star Grandmasters who were stunned by Lee Tianyun's attack. Lee Tianyun smashed the Star Grandmasters into a blood mist in front of Sword Wind Star Monarch. "If you don't know how to speak, go and learn. We can talk about it in your next life," Lee Tianyun said indifferently. That's right. The Sword Wind Star Lord's face darkened. Although he was unhappy that someone had killed his own people in front of him, he could only accept it. "In that case, I'll make a move first. I won't disturb you any further." The Sword Wind Star Lord's face darkened. He quickly led the others away, not daring to linger. Chapter 1939. Fairy Yu Ran was stunned, and so was Fairy Fan Yu. That was the Sword Wind Star Monarch. The fame of the Sword Wind Star Venerates spread far and wide. Even among the many Star Venerates, he ranked among the top. Now, many of Sword Wind Star Monarch's subordinates had been slapped to death with a single slap, yet he had chosen to leave instead of taking revenge. This was undoubtedly even more shocking. Those who reached the Star Venerate level were rather prideful. If their subordinates were killed, they would definitely be extremely protective. Unexpectedly, the Sword Wind Star Monarch did not dare to attack. Instead, he obediently left, not even wanting the 9 revolution stargrass. This scene stunned Fairy Yu Ran. She had thought that the Sword Wind Star Lord would fight with Tianyun. Unexpectedly, the Sword Wind Star Lord left obediently. This. Fairy Yu Ran was speechless. She really didn't expect this to happen. Her plan was ruined. Before she could think further, a few more figures flew in, and the leader was another Star Lord. Fairy Yu Ran raised her head and was delighted. It's Lord Yao Xing. He is even more domineering than the Sword Wind Star Lord. Celestial Lord Yao Xing. Fairy Fan Yu's eyes narrowed. Another Celestial Lord had arrived so quickly. Wasn't it a little too fast? Looking at the celestial crystals in their hands, it was indeed the problem with the celestial crystals. Once the number of heaven crystal stones increased, it would become extremely chaotic. Especially when the 9 revolution stargrass was close to maturity, the heaven crystal stone's judgment would be even more accurate. At that time, there would definitely be more experts coming. At the very least, there would be batches of Grandmaster Xing. It's you? When this star venerate entered, the first thing he saw was not the 9 revolution stargrass but Tianyun. As soon as he saw Tianyun, he was shocked. Oh, it's you. You're also here for the 9 revolution stargrass? Tianyun smiled faintly. The luminous star venerate in front of him was the star venerate who had watched his battle with the divine cauldron star venerate and the others. He had not interfered and wanted to profit from the fight. I was just passing by and happened to see a reaction here. Since you've discovered it, then it's yours. I won't disturb you any further. Ming Xingyao turned around and left with his men. He didn't even bother to stay. This scene caused Fairy Yu Ran and the others to be stunned once again. Why was Lord Mingxing leaving as well? It was too late for him to dodge, so he quickly chose to leave, not even coming into contact with him. This kind of effect was equivalent to seeing a god of plague. What's going on? Why did they leave as soon as they saw you? Fairy Fan Yu was confused. Tianyun glanced at them indifferently and said indifferently, nothing much. They saw me kill 2 star venerates earlier. Tell me, do they still dare to provoke me? Fairy Yu Ran sucked in a breath of cold air. She was shocked by Tianyun's words. He killed 2 star venerates. A star venerate was an unrivaled existence. Even if one wanted to kill one would need to expend a certain amount of effort. Tianyun killing 2 star venerates in a row sounded extremely terrifying. He killed 2 star venerates? Poor they. Fairy Fan Yu was stunned. A star venerate from the celestial pole ancestral land and a star venerate from the divine cauldron ancestral land. Tianyun flicked his fingers and smiled faintly. I heard that the celestial pole star lord was a lackey of the jade god ancestral land, but I still killed him. Tianyun had a calm expression, as if he was talking about something insignificant. Fairy Yu Ran's heart was in turmoil as she listened to the story. This was too frightening. 2 star venerates had been killed. What did that mean? The Metal Wind star venerate is different. He is very strong. Fairy Yu Ran still persisted in her belief that the Metal Wind star venerate would definitely be able to suppress Tianyun. He will definitely be strong, but I will be stronger than him. Tianyun smiled faintly and continued to meditate. Fairy Yu Ran obediently shut her mouth. No one knew what she was thinking. Fairy Fan Yu's eyes were filled with surprise. She had not seen Tianyun's true strength. Now that he could kill 2 star venerates, it meant that he was definitely not weak. She had thought that Tianyun would lose mainly because the star venerates of the Jade God ancestral land had left too deep an impression on her. They were all top-notch existences among the star venerates. Naturally, she was worried. As time continued to pass, other cultivators soon arrived. However, this time, it was the ignorant Grandmaster Xing. After they barged in, they looked at the 9 revolution stargrass with pleasant surprise. When they wanted to kill them, Tianyun killed them with one slap. There are too many heavenly crystal stones. I can't even pick them in peace. Tianyun shook his head and looked at Fairy Fan Yu. It looks like it was not worth it for you to guard the heavenly crystal stones. There are so many of them. What is going on? Has this happened before? It has never happened before. It has always been very rare. There have never been so many. In the past, getting the heavenly crystal stones was equivalent to finding the 9 revolution star grass. Furthermore, with the treasure in the fog, it was very safe to get the 9 revolution star grass. Fairy Fan Yu shook her head. She was also confused. She did not know what was going on. Yes, no matter what, I will definitely get this 9 revolution star grass. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. Even if Metal Wind Star Venerate came, he would not be able to stop him. Fortunately, there were no problems. Metal Wind Star Venerate did not appear except for some trash. It's about to ripen. Yi Tianyun suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the 9 revolution star grass. Soon, the 9 revolution star grass burst out with vast star energy and soared into the sky. Even a thick mountain could not stop this pillar of light. When the people outside saw this scene, they all knew where the 9 revolution star grass had appeared. This was the time when Yi Tianyun faced the most strong enemies. When the 9 revolution star grass ripened, it was like the golden divine grass, growing up crazily. The difference was that the 9 revolution star grass was surrounded by stellar energy. It looked like it was enveloped by dense stellar energy. If he wanted to obtain the 9 revolution star grass, he would have to break through the layers of revolving star power to obtain it. It was not easy. Without the cultivation of a mid to late stage star master, it would not be easy to get it. It's here. At this time, groups of cultivators rushed in with all their might. They were all grandmasters Xing from various clans. They all rushed in one after another. When they saw the matured 9 revolution star grass, they were deeply attracted. Snatch it! Quick! When the group of star masters wanted to snatch it, Yi Tianyun took a step forward. The image of the 5-colored monarch dragon burst out. The domineering aura descended and shocked the group of star masters that pounced at him. It's Star Venerate, they were shocked. They did not expect this young man to be a Star Venerate. Chapter 1940. Yi Tianyun drew a line on the ground. This was the boundary. Whoever crossed this boundary would die. This frightened grandmasters Xing and the others. How could they contend against a Star Venerate level existence? All of them gulped and retreated a few steps, not daring to move forward. Some chose to flee in a hurry, while others stayed at the side and watched. Who knew what they were thinking? Yi Tianyun ignored them. Instead, he opened his hand, and the power of the 5-colored Emperor Dragon pressed down, instantly suppressing the ring of light on the 9 revolution star grass. The ring of light on the surface of the 9 revolution star grass could injure people, even grandmasters Xing. However, that was only for Grandmaster Xing. To a Star Venerate, it was insignificant. Under the continuous suppression, the ring of light gradually dimmed, looking like it would collapse at any moment. Break for me! Yi Tianyun pinched the 9 revolution star grass hard, and with a bang, the 9 revolution star grass's star power ring was crushed. It was very easy, without much difficulty. After crushing it, Yi Tianyun grabbed the escaping 9 revolution star grass. However, the 9 revolution star grass was rather slippery. Yi Tianyun leaped up and turned into a beam of light, fleeing to the side. Now is the time. The eyes of the watching grandmasters Xing lit up, and they immediately pounced over to the 9 revolution star grass. When they saw an opportunity, they immediately pounced over. Even though Yi Tianyun had warned them earlier, they were very bold, wanting to snatch it and run. The temptation of the 9 revolution star grass was too strong. It was mainly because they thought that if they snatched the 9 revolution star grass, they would be able to break through to grade 5 or grade 6 dermic bodies. Yi Tianyun's gaze turned cold. He opened his hand, and a sweeping force swept out, crushing the group of grandmasters Xing that were pouncing over into powder. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and pinched the fleeing 9 revolution star grass. You want to leave? Xiao Chun could not let the 9 revolution star grass escape. He just had to be careless at the start and get serious later on. Then, he would be able to catch it easily. This was something that even grandmasters Xing could catch, not to mention a Star Venerate. If he couldn't catch it, it would be really embarrassing. You still dare to cross the line? Yi Tianyun's gaze swept to the front. Some Grandmaster Xing, who wanted to rush over, no longer dared to take even half a step forward. With a wave of Yi Tianyun's hand, more than 10 Grandmaster Xing were killed. This kind of power scared them out of their wits. Previously, he had wanted to use the 9 Revolutions star grass to escape and quickly capture it. Now, it looked like they were too naive. This star venerate was extremely tyrannical, not something they could compare to. Even the slightest provocation was unacceptable. We will go now. All of them turned and left in fright. Now that the 9 Revolution star grass had been obtained, they no longer had a chance unless a star venerate came. After they left, Yi Tianyun held the 9 Revolution star grass in his hand. He could feel the dense star power in it. It indeed gave him a feeling of merging with the stars above. This is the 9 Revolution star grass. It's much better than the golden divine grass. Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. He didn't intend to use the golden divine grass. The effect of that thing was average. He was more interested in this 9 Revolution star grass. It's really beautiful. Fairy Fan Yu came over. This was the first time she saw the 9 Revolution star grass. Naturally, she was curious. If we consume it directly, the effect will not be as good as refining pills. Yi Tianyun looked at the 9 Revolution star grass. The effect of refining pills would definitely be better. However, his alchemy level was too ordinary. It was still at the lower realm level. If he used the lower realm level to refine it, the effect would be extremely poor. He might as well not refine it. The effect of refining pills will definitely be the best. However, the reward for finding a star alchemist is too high. The price of refining the 9 Revolution star grass is almost the same as 1 9 Revolution star grass. The price is too high. Therefore, we consume it directly. The effect is slightly poor, but at least the price isn't high. Fairy Fan Yu knew the problem. However, the price was too high. She could only give up. Finding someone to refine pills. Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. He could use other things to exchange for it. For example, there were many treasures in the Star Lord's storage ring. These could be used as the price. Since they weren't his, he wouldn't feel the heartache. Then I will still find someone to refine pills. Do you have any good recommendations? Yi Tianyun felt that refining pills was better. It would be better if it was combined with other spiritual herbs. He felt that he wouldn't be able to improve much just by consuming it. In this case, he might as well keep it for later and find someone to refine pills for him. There are 2 best places to refine pills. One is the Phoenix Flame Palace and the other is the Jade God Ancestral Land. Fairy Fan Yu felt a little awkward. The best place to refine pills was the Jade God Ancestral Land. The Jade God Ancestral Land was perfect in every aspect. It naturally had better resources. The Phoenix Flame Palace and the Jade God Ancestral Land. Yi Tianyun smiled. This is good. If I kill my way to the Jade God Ancestral Land, I can capture those star alchemists and get them to refine pills for me for free. He smiled. By then, there wouldn't be any price to pay. It would all be free. Fairy Fan Yu had a weird expression. This sounded reasonable, but the difficulty wasn't low. How could it not be difficult to kill his way to the Jade God Ancestral Land and snatch the person over? It's about time. We should leave. Yi Tianyun nodded. Since the 9 Revolution star grass was in his hands, there was naturally no need to stay here any longer. Let's hurry up and leave. Fairy Fan Yu nodded and dragged Fairy Yu ran away from this place. The 2 of them quickly left through the gap and went back the way they came. When they came to the empty area outside, a burly man radiating golden light was meditating at the exit. The cultivators passing by looked at him warily and took a detour from the side. However, this burly man didn't find trouble with them. He continued to meditate at the same spot. It's the Metalwind Star Lord. Fairy Fan Yu exclaimed. When she saw the burly man, she covered her mouth in shock. It really is the Metalwind Star Lord. Fairy Yu Rant's eyes lit up. The Metalwind Star Lord was indeed here and was guarding the entrance. How was Lee Yun going to escape now? At this moment, the Metal Wind Star Lord seemed to have sensed Lee Yun. He opened his eyes suddenly and a golden beam shot towards them. This was a real attack. Lee Yun stretched out his hand and flicked the two golden beams away. Boom. Chapter 1941. So, this is the Metal Wind Star Venerate. Lee Yun narrowed his eyes as he sized up this Metal Wind Star Venerate. He had to admit that this Metal Wind Star Venerate was indeed a strong enemy. As a late-stage Star Venerate, his body contained the startling power of metal wind. That was the combination of metal and wind. Not only did he have the indestructibility of metal, but he also had the speed of wind. When the two were combined, he was simply unstoppable. This was just on the surface. Xiao Chen would have to wait for the Metal Wind Star Venerate to unleash his full power. At the very least, based on this first attack, the Metal Wind Star Venerate's might was extraordinary. You are the culprit who killed so many of my Jade God Ancestral Land's disciples? The Metal Wind Star Venerate stood up, appearing irritable. You made me wait for so long. What a waste of my time. Before the Metal Wind Star Venerate finished speaking, he turned into a beam of golden light and charged over. He did not say much and just flew over to fight Lee Yun. The Metal Wind Star Venerate did not bring out his dermic body. He just relied on his own strength to charge over. The might of a late-stage Star Venerate's physical body alone was extremely horrifying. Along the way, the perfect fusion of the power of metal and the power of wind was like a golden sword with countless sharp blades, plowing a large gully in the ground. The horrifying scene frightened the surrounding cultivators. They hurriedly retreated to the side, not daring to have the slightest intention of approaching. If they got any closer, even a late-stage Grandmaster Xing would be easily torn into powder. Back off. Lee Yun waved his hand, and a force pushed Fairy Fan Yu to the side, far away from him. At the same time, he did not dodge. He raised his hand and clashed head-on with the Metal Wind Star Venerate. To think that he dares to clash with the Metal Wind Star Venerate. Is this fellow a fool? The Metal Wind Star Venerate's strongest point is his physical body. To think that he dares to compete with the Metal Wind Star Venerate in terms of physical body. Is there something wrong with his head? He must be a fool. Does he really think that he can compare to the Metal Wind Star Venerate? Hey, isn't he that arrogant brat? He killed the people of several factions. Now, he dares to offend the Metal Wind Star Venerate? Isn't he a fool? Some recognized Lee Yun, while others didn't. Some news didn't spread that fast. Even if it did, they hadn't seen Lee Yun's face, so they didn't know Lee Yun's real identity. Boom. Fist against fist, the two fists collided, creating a violent collision. The power of gold and the power of wind swept out in all directions. A moment later, a figure was sent flying. Everyone focused their eyes and saw that it was indeed Lee Yun who was sent flying. He landed heavily on the ground and created a huge crater. Lee Yun, who had been sent flying, slowly crawled out of the huge pit. His body was heavily injured, and he looked extremely miserable. Trying to compete with me in terms of physical strength? You're overestimating yourself. Goldwind Star Lord was extremely disdainful of Lee Yun. His eyes were filled with contempt, as if he was looking at a defeated dog with its tail between its legs. Heavenly Cloud Star Lord! Fairy Fan Yu exclaimed. She thought that Lee Yun would be able to hold on, but there was no miracle. He was sent flying by Goldwind Star Lord, and it seemed like he was on the losing end. Fairy Yu Rant's eyes were full of joy. She thought that Lee Yun would be able to win the battle, but now it seemed like she was exaggerating. She was just bragging. Haha, I knew it. You're overestimating yourself. Compared to Goldwind Star Lord, you're still far from being on the same level. It's fine that you're not as strong as him, but you still want to compete with Goldwind Star Lord in terms of physical strength? What a fool. Fairy Yu Ran couldn't help but laugh out loud. She had finally released some of the pressure she had been suppressing. Soon he will be killed by Goldwind Star Lord. Your backer is about to die. Let's see how you're going to behave then. Fairy Yu Ran looked at Fairy Fan Yu. She had always thought that Fairy Fan Yu was relying on Yi Tianyun. Now that her backer was gone, what was the point of being so arrogant? He won't die. Fairy Fan Yu's eyes were filled with worry. Although that was what she said, she didn't show it on her face. She was extremely worried that Yi Tianyun would really lose. The other spectating cultivators were all gloating, especially the Sword Wind Star Lord and the others who had left earlier. They weren't in a hurry to leave. Instead, they continued to explore the area. When they saw Goldwind Star Lord, they knew that there was going to be a good show. Let's see how this guy can still be arrogant. The Sword Wind Star Lord spat in his heart. He was extremely unhappy with Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun had even killed him in front of him previously. Needless to say, he felt aggrieved. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Tianyun wasn't weak, he would have wanted to fight him immediately. Now, he didn't even need to do anything, and Yi Tianyun was about to be killed. This made him feel extremely carefree. When Yi Tianyun walked out, he twisted his body slightly as if he was loosening his muscles and bones. Your physical body isn't bad, but it's still not enough. Yi Tianyun said with a relaxed expression, "Is this all you've got? Show me what you need to show. This little bit of power isn't enough to kill me." Looking at Yi Tianyun's indifferent expression, Goldwind Star Lord was even angrier. "It seems that you won't repent until you see the coffin. Even if I don't use my full strength, I can still kill you." Goldwind Star Lord didn't use his full strength. Instead, he continued to attack with his physical body, breaking through the layers of the void and smashing towards Yi Futian. Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. The five-colored Emperor Dragon's power in his body instantly added to the surface of his body. It glowed with a deep red light. With the power of the five-colored Emperor Dragon's bloodline, his strength stacked up. His physical body was also strengthened to a certain extent. He also didn't use his full strength. He didn't even use his Starlight Dharma idol. He was purely competing with Goldwind Star Lord's physical body. Boom! The attacks collided again. Fairy Fan Yu didn't even dare to watch. This time, she was afraid that Yi Tianyun would be sent flying again. Indeed, that was the case. Yi Tianyun was sent flying. However, this time, he wasn't as miserable as the last time. He was only sent flying for a short distance before stabilizing in midair. This scene made everyone's eyes open wide. They didn't expect him to actually receive it. Again. Yi Tianyun laughed. Instead of retreating, he took the initiative to attack. Goldwind Star Lord was enraged. He was really provoked. He raised his strength again and the power of metal circulated crazily. The muscles on the surface of his body were about to burst. Boom! The collision of strength. Yi Tianyun was sent flying again. However, this time, he didn't retreat too far. The distance he retreated was shorter than the last time. The key was that Goldwind Star Lord's strength had increased this time. Instead, he retreated even closer. It was unbelievable. Even Goldwind Star Lord found it unbelievable. Why was he getting stronger? Could it be that Yi Tianyun was hiding his strength? Chapter 1942. Why is your strength getting stronger and stronger? Golden Wind frowned. He felt that something was amiss. Although this wasn't his full strength, his opponent didn't seem to be using his full strength either. Why was he getting closer? It's not that my strength is getting stronger. It's that you are too weak. Yi Tianyun twisted his arm with a calm expression. These words agitated the hot-tempered Golden Wind. Instantly, his strength surged into the sky. Golden light flashed as he pushed his physical strength to its limits. He was like a shining golden statue. You are the one who is too weak. Goldwind Star Monarch's temper was easily stirred up. The next moment, he erupted with his strongest power and charged over. He was still stubborn and didn't use his astral aspect. In his opinion, he could win by using his physical strength. This was a matter of face. He felt that using more strength would lower his status and status. Hence, he didn't use his full strength. It was like facing a star disciple. Using his full strength to kill a star disciple was clearly overestimating his opponent. It would be a joke to others. Wasn't it too cowardly to use such strength against such a weak opponent? Golden Wind had always been famous, so he naturally cared about his reputation. If he could use his physical strength, he wouldn't use his full strength, much less his astral aspect. Tianyun wasn't afraid. He continued to clash head-on with Golden Wind. Boom! The two clashed once again. This time, Tianyun only retreated a few steps. In contrast, Golden Wind also retreated a few steps. They were evenly matched. This shocked everyone. It was one thing to close the gap bit by bit, but why were they evenly matched in the end? If this continued, wouldn't Golden Wind overtake Golden Wind? In a sense, Tianyun had overtaken Golden Wind in one fell swoop. Heaven Cloud Star-Lord has overtaken him. Fairy Fan Yu was overjoyed. She thought that she would lose, but it seemed that she wouldn't lose at all. This is impossible. How can he be overtaken? Golden Wind hasn't used his full strength. This is just a contest of physical strength. Golden Wind can't possibly lose. Fairy Yu Ran was still stubborn. She refused to admit that Golden Wind had lost. After all, Golden Wind hadn't even used his full strength. Motherfucker, what's going on? Is this guy's body so strong? Speaking of which, didn't he just break through to the Starry Sky stage? Why is his physical body so powerful? Sword Wind Star Sovereign and the others were stunned. Originally, they were just watching Tianyun get beaten up. Now, Gold Wind Star Sovereign was about to get beaten up. No matter what, they did not believe that Tianyun had just broken through to the Starry Sky stage. How could this be considered a recent breakthrough? He was clearly a late-stage Starry Sky stage. Otherwise, how could he be so strong? If they were in Tianyun's shoes, they would have been beaten to a pulp long ago. How could they be like Tianyun, who could grow stronger step by step? He must have been hiding his strength. He deliberately hid his strength and then slowly increased his strength. Pretending to be weak, how scheming! Immediately, some people thought that they had seen through Tianyun's plan. They thought that Tianyun was deliberately pretending to be weak so that he could burst out at the end and suppress them. In truth, Tianyun had not deliberately shown weakness. Instead, he had truly been beaten up in the beginning. Later on, under the five-colored Emperor Dragon's power, he had constantly adapted to Goldwind Star Monarcha's power, and thus, he had managed to reverse the situation to a certain extent. This was the five-colored Emperor Dragon's ability, adaptation. Xiao Chen knew about this ability. Coincidentally, he had a strong enemy like Goldwind Star Monarch, so he tried it out. Who knew, after trying it out, Xiao Chen discovered that he could really adapt quickly, even strengthening his body. However, this was only temporary. After adapting, he could temporarily strengthen himself. After the battle, he would quickly return to his original state. If the opponent was too strong, this ability would be useless. If the opponent flattened him with one palm strike, he would not be able to adapt in time. Right now, Goldwind Star Monarch was stronger than Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Chen was not weak either. As long as he could withstand it, he could activate the five-colored Emperor Dragon's ability to adapt. Correspondingly, he could also adapt to other abilities. For example, if his opponent used flames to attack him, after blocking and adapting for a few rounds, his opponent's flames would no longer be effective against him. The five-colored Emperor Dragon's ability to adapt also had a flaw. It could not truly reverse the situation. After adapting to the opponent's abilities, it would be equivalent to a tie and not reverse the situation. Of course, if it was a tie, it would not be a surprise to reverse the situation. However, Tianyun just wanted to play around and test this ability. He did not want to rely on this ability to deal with Goldwind Star Monarch. In the end, he was just playing around from the beginning. If he wanted to deal with Goldwind Star Monarch, he would need a lot of abilities. It looks like you are qualified to fight me. However, this time, you won't be able to withstand it. Goldwind Star Monarch soared into the sky, and a huge phantom appeared behind him, the Golden Flow Divine Mountain's Star Dharma idol. The Golden Flow Divine Mountain was a Star Divine Mountain. It was a level 5 Star Dharma idol that was infinitely close to a level 6 Star Dharma idol. After erupting, the power of metal in the world surged crazily. It was as if he was the master of the power of metal, and all the power of metal was under his control. At the same time, the power of stars above him began to circulate. Layer by layer, it reached the power of stars in all directions. As expected of the Jade Godland's star monarch, the power of stars he controlled far surpassed other star monarchs, reaching the level of the power of stars in all directions. The moment Goldwind's star monarch unleashed his power, he unleashed the majority of his power. He wanted to kill with one move. He chose to unleash the majority of his power in order to save face. "I'm qualified to fight you?" Lee Dong-yun smiled faintly and said, "You think I'm qualified to fight you, but I don't think you're qualified to fight me." Arrogant, arrogant. The group shook their heads. Previously, Lee Dong-yun could take on Goldwind's star monarch head-on, but that was under the condition that he did not unleash his full power. They did not know what tricks Lee Dong-yun was using. In any case, he had only used a small portion of Goldwind's star monarch's power. This was his true power. Under such circumstances, who could withstand it? You think you can win just because you can withstand a little of the power? I wonder how you cultivated to the star monarch level. Swordwind's star monarch and the others shook their heads. They still believed that Goldwind's star monarch would win. The Jade Godland's star monarch was a legend. Fairy Yu Ran teased, "This is the most arrogant star monarch I've ever seen. I wonder if his power can reach the standard of such arrogance. When he gets beaten up, he will know how harsh his words were." Everyone thought that Lee Dong-yun was too arrogant, and he was too arrogant. The more he acted like this, the faster he would die. "I've decided. Not only will I destroy you, but I will also destroy everyone in your faction." Goldwind's star monarch's anger soared. It had been a long time since someone spoke to him like this. Lee Dong-yun was the first. Chapter 1943. Then let's see if your power is on par with your tone. Metalwind's Star Lord snorted. He turned into a divine mountain and pressed down heavily. Hurricanes and sharp blades swept up in all directions. Not a single blade of grass grew within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. This was under the condition that he deliberately suppressed his power. If he released all his power, it would reach millions of miles, or even tens of millions of miles. The effect would be the best when the power was compressed to a certain range, not the larger the range, the better. The pressure brought by the huge star aspect made the cultivators in the distance feel extremely suppressed. They all retreated tens of thousands of miles, not daring to get too close. Although this was the range now, who knew how far it would go in the next moment? "Don't worry. You will see it soon." Lee Dong-yun also flew in the sky, step by step, as if he was walking on an invisible ladder, step by step, step by step. Facing the divine mountain in the sky, he did not feel any pressure at all. Instead, he wore a smile on his face. After he took a few steps up, he suddenly grabbed at the void. Immediately, the phantom of the five-colored Emperor Dragon appeared in the void. It opened its huge mouth and bit forward, swallowing a small part of his opponent's star power from 8 directions. 3 directions of star power were swallowed just like that. This time, the domineering Metalwind Star Lord was greatly weakened. It should be pointed out that when the star power from 6 directions started, the multiplier would increase. Now that 3 directions of star power had been swallowed, it meant that the power had been reduced by 8 times. What? The domineering Metalwind Star Lord was stunned by this scene. He had never seen such a heaven-defying power that could swallow away his opponent's star power. Even the other Star Lords were dumbfounded. They held their breath and wondered if they were seeing things. They had seen people suppress their opponent's power, but they had never seen someone swallow their opponent's star power. This is the power of the star aspect? They held their breath. It was obvious that this was the power of the star aspect. At least, they had never seen it before. This was not the end. The star power shining down from above Lee Dong-yun expanded rapidly. The original star power from 8 directions increased to 10 directions after swallowing the star power from 3 directions. Buzz! The five-colored Emperor Dragon's star Dharma forms seemed to have been injected with more vitality and became very dazzling. The power of the omnidirectional star power made it more active and domineering. Logically speaking, if the 8 directions star power absorbed 3 directions of star power, it should be 11 directions of star power. However, it would be more difficult to increase the power in the later stages. Although it was still a threefold increase in power, the higher it was, the harder it was to increase it. Therefore, it was not a simple stacking of power. 10 star force. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. When they saw the 10,000 stars enveloping them, they were all stunned. This meant that his strength would increase by a large margin. He could weaken his opponent and strengthen himself at the same time. Who could compare to such an ability? You do have some ability, but it ends here. The Goldwind Star Monarch was not afraid. With a flip of his hand, a huge hammer appeared in his grasp. The golden hammer was engraved with golden star runes, making it look like a resplendent star. And this was a star sector level weapon, a weapon that could unleash its full potential. With a weapon in hand, his strength rose steadily, and the golden domineering ring was released. He gripped the golden hammer tightly and smashed it at Itianyun. The void shattered, and the world was destroyed. Itianyun faced it head-on. However, he could only fight with his bare hands. He did not have a star sector level weapon. Star sector level weapons were extremely precious. Even ordinary Star Lords could not obtain them. They usually used low-grade treasures. Only Star Lords like the Jade God Ancestral Land could obtain such high-grade weapons. It could increase one's strength by at least 10 times, or even more. Although the star power was weakened with the support of the weapon, it was not weak. No wonder the Star Lords of the Jade God Ancestral Land were invincible. Whether it was their talent or the treasures they had, they were invincible. As for the other ancestral lands, they had all been plundered. How could there be high-grade weapons? Boom! In an instant, the world changed color, and everything turned golden. Itianyun's 5-color Emperor Dragon Phantom was suppressed by Itianyun. It had to be said that even the unique Star Dharma aspect could not resist the violent power. With a series of explosions, Itianyun was smashed down again, creating a huge crater in the ground. He cut a sorry figure, and his body was covered with cuts and bruises. It had to be said that the power of this hammer was really heaven-defying. Zhao's bloodline power was strengthened by the 5-colored Emperor Dragon, which made his defense extremely strong. Even so, he could not resist this power. So what if you have the unique Star Dharma aspect? So what if you devour the opponent's star power? Our cultivation levels are still too low. Fairy Yu Ran laughed when she saw this. Previously, she had been frightened by Itianyun's ability to devour the stars. Now, she realized that there was no way to make up for the gap. The rest of the cultivators heaved a sigh of relief. Although they did not have a good impression of the Jade God Ancestral Land, it was not a good thing for an unknown existence to appear. Is this your strongest power? Still too weak? Itianyun stood up shakily from the huge crater. He looked so weak. You are still so stubborn even at death's door. You are quite capable to be able to resist this move of mine. However, everything ends here. When you go down there, remember to be more low-profile in your next life. You can be arrogant, but you must have the ability to match it. The Metal Wind Star Venerate swung his hammer again. It was like a golden meteor crashing down. Fairy Fan Yu exclaimed. She wanted to help, but she could not. Not to mention help, she did not even have the chance to get close. Her cultivation was too low. She might be very strong outside, but against a Star Venerate, she had no choice but to stand aside. If I say that you are too weak, then you are too weak. I am an early-stage Star Venerate, and I can already do this. If I improve further, how strong do you think I will be? Itianyun said indifferently. You make it sound so easy. Then show me how strong you are, idiot. The Metal Wind Star Venerate's attack did not decrease. He continued to smash down. His eyes were filled with disdain. Aside from being good at talking big, you are useless. Is that so? In that case, I will show you how strong I am. Yenyun's eyes flashed. The energy in his body instantly increased. His cultivation took a step forward. He actually entered the middle stage star venerate. He broke through just like that without any difficulty. Boom! The strong energy of a star venerate soared into the sky. Everyone could feel that Tianyun had broken through. From early stage star venerate to middle stage star venerate, it was a whole new realm. Chapter 1944. He really broke through just like that? This shocked the Metal Wind Star Monarch. It was as easy as drinking water. If there was anyone who was shocked, it would be Sword Wind Star Lord and the others. They had personally seen Tianyun break through to the Star Venerate realm. Not only was he heaven-defying when he just broke through, but how long had it been? How could Tianyun break through to middle stage Star Venerate already? This was simply like drinking water, and he broke through so easily, causing them to be stunned. Tich, how long has it been since he made a breakthrough? The Sword Wind Stellar Monarch and the others were shocked to learn of the truth. Others who did not know would think that Tianyun had been suppressing himself for a long time and had only broken through to middle stage Star Venerate now. Xiaochen did not know that it had only been a few months since he broke through to early stage Star Venerate, yet he easily broke through to middle stage Star Venerate. Xiaochen managed to break through to the middle stage in a few months. If it were another Star Venerate, they might not even be able to break through in several 100,000 years. This caused them to feel a chill in their hearts. What kind of talent and ability was needed to achieve this? After the breakthrough, the star power above Tianyun skyrocketed again, from 10 square star power to 12 square star power. This meant that when the astral energy from the 8 directions broke through to middle stage Star Venerate, it increased by 2 more directions. This did not include the improvement of his basic strength. With the 2 superimposed, his strength had reached an unprecedented realm. Following that, the 2 forces collided. Accompanied by an even more exaggerated explosion of power than before, the cultivators who were slightly closer were sent flying. If it was light, they would be injured. If it was heavy, they would be paralyzed on the ground and unable to move. They were already far enough away, but they didn't expect that when the 2 collided, they would still be sent flying. Such a powerful force was far beyond what they could withstand. Who won? Those who were slightly further away were not affected by the attack. Their gazes were fixed on the battlefield, waiting to see who would win in the end. Soon, the explosion dissipated and they saw Tianyun standing in the void while Goldwind Star Monarch was sent flying to the ground. The golden hammer in his hand had been knocked away and he looked very wretched. However, his body did not suffer any damage. After all, he had the power of metal. His defense was still very strong. But this already meant that he had lost. Even his weapon had been sent flying. It was the same as losing. After all, Tianyun did not have any weapons, but he still managed to win this round. This meant that he was even more overpowered. No way, Metal Wind Star Monarch lost. They were stunned. Even if he advanced from early stage Star Venerate to middle stage Star Venerate, there was still a gap between him and the Metal Wind Star Venerate. However, after Xiaochen broke through to middle stage Star Venerate, it was like he was on steroids, erupting with startling power. This kind of explosion scared them all. They had never seen such a big explosion before. This was the effect of the basic improvement. Coupled with crazy mode, nothing was a problem. In particular, his stellar power had improved. With the combination of the 2, even Goldwind Star Lord could be suppressed. However, this was considered good. At the very least, it proved that the gap between them wasn't too big. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been as simple as falling to the ground. Instead, it would have been a direct blow to the ground. Metal Wind Celestial Lord has lost. Fairy Yuran sat on the ground, paralyzed. She thought that Tianyun would lose for sure. Who knew that he would actually overtake him? He didn't lie. He is really strong. Fairy Fan Yu covered her mouth in shock. She recalled what Tianyun said earlier. It looked like he wasn't lying. He really did have this kind of ability. From the very start, everything was within his expectations. Everything was under his control. The other cultivators were also stunned. What arrogance! He had the capital to be arrogant. He had the strength to challenge the Jade God ancestral land. Now, do you think that I was wrong? Yi Tianyun said indifferently, if my cultivation had advanced to late-stage star venerate, I feel that no matter how strong your physical body is, you would have been smashed to death by me with one slap. The metal wind star venerate, who was lying on the ground, had a blank look in his eyes. He was also dumbfounded. He had been very confident that he could win this round. Who knew he still lost? Moreover, he lost completely. His weapon was knocked away, and his physical body couldn't block his opponent's attack. As for his cultivation, it went without saying. He lost to Yi Tianyun even though he was one level higher. This feeling of disparity made him fall into a state of confusion. He had always been high and mighty, above everything. He felt that no one could compare to him. Now, it was like a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. He woke up. There would always be someone stronger than him. I don't accept this. The metal wind star venerate roared and waved his hand. The golden hammer in the distance trembled and flew towards him. He was not convinced. He wanted to continue fighting with Yi Tianyun. Even if he died, he would fight until the end. Boom! The huge golden hammer was stomped down by Yi Tianyun. It sank into the ground and couldn't move anymore. He wouldn't let the metal wind star venerate get the golden hammer. It could increase his strength by quite a lot. Although he could still suppress him with the golden hammer, it would be much easier without it. It's time to end this. I'll destroy the Jade God ancestral land. I'll start with you. After taking control of the golden hammer, Yi Tianyun quickly transformed into the five-colored emperor dragon and pounced towards the metal wind star venerate. In his original form, his strength had increased by a lot. He quickly pounced towards the metal wind star venerate. With a wave of his claws, he tore the star dharma form into pieces. No star dharma form could withstand the tearing of a unique star dharma form, including the one of metal wind star venerate. After tearing it apart, it continued to press down. The metal wind star venerate's eyes were filled with the five-colored emperor dragon's shadow. Everything was so hopeless. All his strength seemed futile and hopeless in front of Yi Tianyun. Boom! Violent attacks came down, and the metal wind star venerate was constantly attacked. The first move didn't kill him, but under the continuous attacks, no matter how tough he was, he would be smashed into meat paste. Finally, under the violent attacks, the battle came to an end. The metal wind star venerate was no longer breathing. Yi Tianyun returned to his original form and let out a deep breath. This guy is really tough. He only died after so many attacks. I really need to increase my damage. Yi Tianyun shook his head and looted all of the metal wind star venerate's treasures. When he was done, he raised his head and looked around. The group was so scared that they took a few steps back, especially the metal wind star venerate. They had almost offended Yi Tianyun. If they were targeted, they would be finished. Even the metal wind star venerate was killed. Who could stop him? Unless it was the other two star venerates of the Jade God ancestral land, no one could stop him. Is the Jade God ancestral land really going to be flattened? Chapter 1945. Goldwind Star Monarch was killed, and everyone was paralyzed on the ground. Even such a powerful existence had been killed. Who else could stop Yi Tianyun? Swordwind Star Monarch was even more terrified. He was glad that he hadn't gotten angry. If he had, he would have been cut down by Yi Tianyun. He didn't think he was weak, but he was much weaker than Yi Tianyun. Just Goldwind Star Monarch's body was enough to suppress him, not to mention Yi Tianyun, who was even stronger than Goldwind Star Monarch. How did this guy cultivate? He broke through so quickly. He's even stronger than Goldwind Star Monarch from the ancestral land of the Jade God. They were truly frightened by this unknown guy. Some saw Goldwind Star Monarch's death and quickly fled. They didn't want to be implicated. Only the heavens knew if Yi Tianyun would continue to attack. After all, there were many who were making sarcastic remarks. In reality, It was true. Those who couldn't escape in time were turned to dust by a gust of wind. These were the people who had insulted Lee Tianyun, and they were all killed by him. It wasn't that he was stingy, but that star monarchs couldn't be insulted. They were just a bunch of weaklings, and yet, they dared to insult others. From the very start, their fates were already sealed. They said all these things to support Goldwind Star Monarch and let him know that they were on the side of the ancestral land of the Jade God. Unfortunately, they had bet on the wrong person. The real winner wasn't Goldwind Star Monarch, but Lee Tianyun. After the counterattack, they were scared out of their wits. But what would come would come. They had been completely crushed by Lee Tianyun, and they couldn't be more dead. This kind of behavior would only leave a single sentence in their minds: Star monarchs couldn't be insulted. No one felt that there was anything wrong with this. This was to make up for their previous mistakes. Goldwind Star Monarch is dead. Goldwind Star Monarch is dead. Fairy Yu Ran looked at the area where Goldwind Star Monarch had been killed. Her eyes were hollow. She had thought that Lee Tianyun would be killed, but now it seemed that she had overthought it. Lee Tianyun had only fulfilled his previous bragging, and all of them had come true. Metal Wind Star Monarch did not take it seriously and directly crushed it. Lee Tianyun then returned to Goddess Fan Yu's side. His wounds had already healed. With his heaven-defying bloodline, it was not a problem for him to recover from this injury. Do you believe me this time? Lee Tianyun looked indifferently at Fairy Yu Ran. Fairy Yu Ran sat paralyzed on the ground, her eyes filled with fear. Even the powerful Metal Wind Star Lord had been killed. It was a miracle. You can't fight against the Jade God ancestral land. There are 2 other star sovereigns there, and they are no weaker than Goldwind Star Sovereign. In fact, they are even stronger. Fairy Yu Ran did not compromise. She continued to shout at Lee Tianyun with her shrill voice. She would rather die than admit that Lee Tianyun could crush the Jade God ancestral land. How could a godlike existence in their hearts be trampled to the ground? Oh, there are 2 other star sovereigns? This is not a problem, Lee Tianyun said indifferently. Of course, I'm afraid you won't be able to see that day. If Goddess Fan Yu captured her, she would either lock her up forever and punish her, or she would be killed. It was impossible to know what would happen to Lee Tianyun after that. Even if I die, I will wait for you down there. Fairy Yu Ran said as she stared at Lee Tianyun with resentment in her eyes. Lee Tianyun shook his head. She was really stubborn. It was not just her. Many cultivators thought the same. It was undeniable that Lee Tianyun was very strong when he killed the Metal Wind Star Lord. However, this was not the territory of the Jade God ancestral land. In the Jade God ancestral land, they were truly invincible. There was the inheritance of the Star Venerables there. If the Star Venerables used it, they would definitely be invincible. It's almost time to leave. After killing the Metal Wind Star Lord, it was time for Lee Tianyun to leave. It was time to leave anyway. If the Metal Wind Star Lord had not stopped him, he would have left long ago. Just as they were about to leave, a beam of light suddenly shot up from the depths of the 5 Elements mountain behind them and shone in all directions. At the same time, the heaven crystals in their hands also shone with dazzling light. It looked very strange, as if they were resonating. Strange treasures have appeared? They all looked inside, especially those who were holding the heaven crystals tightly. It seemed as if they would fly out at any moment. The heaven crystals had a special gravitational force that wanted to lead them to the innermost part. Without even thinking about it, he immediately took the heaven crystal stones and flew inside. If they wanted strange treasures, they had to take the risk. Especially if they were the first to enter first, they would be able to obtain more treasures. They could only choose to take the risk. Who knew if they could become Star Lords? Among them, the Sword Wind Star Lord and the others would not fall behind. Without thinking, they also turned into a beam of light and flew into the depths. The heaven crystals were usually used to search for the 9 revolution stargrass. Apart from the 9 revolution stargrass, there were no other similar effects. However, there was more than one 9 revolution stargrass. There were still other 9 revolution stargrass in the 5 Elements mountain. The problem was that some of them were hidden very well. No one knew where they came from, or the heaven crystals did not sense anything. The heaven crystals were not omnipotent. If the distance was too far, it would not sense anything. Star Lord Heavenly Cloud, this situation. Fairy Fan, you looked at Itianyun. Would Itianyun go in? I plan to go in and take a look. I want to see what treasures there are inside. Even the heaven crystals are reacting so intensely. The heaven crystals in Itianyun's hand flew forward once he let go. It is very possible that there are so many heaven crystals this time. There must be some special changes. Fairy Fan, you nodded. Perhaps something special had happened. Otherwise, how could there be so many heaven crystals? Furthermore, the number was so shocking. Among 10 people, at least 2 or 3 had heaven crystals. This was enough to show how many there were. In the past, not to mention 10 people, even a few thousand people might not find one. In that case, I will bring her back to the ancestral land first. When Star Lord Heavenly Cloud returns, you must come to the Brahma ancestral land. Our Brahma ancestral land will definitely thank Star Lord Heavenly Cloud. Fairy Fan, you did not go in. She knew her own strength. Furthermore, the most important thing now was to bring Fairy Yu Ran back. After all, this matter was very serious. She had to go back and investigate who else was a spy. Colluding with the Jade God ancestral land was not a good thing. Itianyun did not stop her. He did not know what would happen inside. In any case, it would be easier for him to go alone. Chapter 1946. Itianyun followed the guidance of the celestial stone and flew inside rapidly. He was getting faster and faster, and very soon, he overtook many cultivators who went inside first. As they flew, they soon arrived outside a wall of light. Outside this wall of light, there were many cultivators who had been stopped. If he observed closely, Itianyun realized that they didn't have celestial stones, which was why they were stopped outside. It seems that the celestial stones are the key to enter. Itianyun looked at them, and all the cultivators turned their heads to the side and didn't dare to look at him. They didn't look at Itianyun, but at the other cultivators who flew over. Once they had the celestial stones, they would kill them immediately and snatch the celestial stones. The celestial stones were the key to enter, so they could only snatch them. As for searching for the celestial stones, even if there were many of them, they had to search for them. They didn't want to waste any time, so the best way was to snatch them. For a moment, the celestial stones were the targets of snatching. Some of them didn't even react before they were surrounded by the other cultivators, and they all charged at them. Those with weak cultivation could only be killed. Itianyun was powerful, so naturally, no one dared to target him. Everyone had seen Itianyun's previous strength. Unless they were kicked in the head by a donkey, or it was their first time seeing Itianyun, they wouldn't attack him. Itianyun didn't pay attention to them and walked inside. As expected, with the celestial stones, he could easily pass through the light wall and enter. As soon as he entered, he was greeted by the sight of multicolored stones that enveloped the entire area. It looked like countless 5-colored gems were piled up in the area, and everyone was dazzled. Such rich crystals. Every one of them contains a lot of energy. Itianyun's eyes lit up. Just these 5-colored divine stones alone were worth a lot. Of course, if he came in, he wouldn't be aiming for these 5-colored divine stones. They were worth a lot, but they were far from the level of treasures. They were only at the level of currency. Their value could only be considered acceptable, but definitely not high. As far as the eye could see, the first batch of cultivators who entered did not pay any attention to the 5-colored divine stones. Their cultivations were all at the level of Master Xing, so this small amount of money was really meaningless to them. Unless they were given a lot of time one day, they could casually empty out all the 5-colored divine stones here. However, the 5 Elements Mountain wouldn't give them unlimited time. If they continued like this, the 5 Elements Mountain would soon close. Itianyun glanced around and continued to fly inside. When the Heaven Crystal Stone came in, it no longer had any guiding power. It seemed that the mission had been completed, and the rest was up to them. As he went deeper and deeper, he sensed energy fluctuations coming from the inside before he got too deep into the area. Soon after, several corpses flew over and turned into countless pieces in front of him. A blood-curdling scream came from the front as well. For a moment, the energy coming from the front didn't show any signs of stopping. Lee Dong-yun narrowed his eyes and looked ahead carefully. He found that there was a large group of monsters with green fur in front of him. They were constantly tearing through the cultivators. They were either tearing the cultivators apart or grabbing them and biting them. The key was that there were a lot of them. There were at least hundreds of them, and all of them were at the level of Master Xing. What race is this? Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. Before he could take a closer look, he heard a cry of surprise. This is the Green Demon Clan. Why are there green demons here? Quick run. Damn it, it's the Green Demon Clan. Why are such ferocious demons here? Didn't they say that they would be exterminated? When the cultivators who followed behind saw the Green Demon Clan, they were so scared that they ran toward the exit. They seemed to have forgotten about the rare treasures at this moment. If you wanted the rare treasures, you first had to be alive to take them. Who would dare to approach these ferocious green demons? Green Demon Clan? Yi Tianyun was startled. He suddenly remembered that the records he had read before were about the Green Demon Clan. Generally speaking, the Green Demon Clan was one of the races. However, the Green Demon Clan was extremely ferocious and was completely a demon clan. When they encountered other races, they would attack fiercely and would never show any mercy. In the past, because of the Green Demon Clan's anger, they were crazily slaughtered, and in the end, they were basically exterminated. They thought that they had basically disappeared. Who knew that they would reappear in the Five Elements Mountain? Looking at the number, Yi Tianyun suspected that this place was used to seal the Green Demon Clan and trap them here. Yi Tianyun didn't run away. He continued to fly forward. When the Green Demon Clan in front of him saw him, their eyes glowed with green light. With a roar, they rushed toward him. They quickly rushed over, wanting to kill Yi Tianyun. As long as they were outsiders, they would be included in the list of people to be killed. Yi Tianyun took a step forward, and the phantom of the five-colored king dragon burst out, killing a group of Green Demon Clan that rushed over. In the blink of an eye, dozens of Green Demon Clan that rushed over were trampled to death. The rest were so scared that they retreated. It's a star venerate. Moreover, it's a star venerate with a unique star Dharma idol. They were so scared that they quickly retreated. No matter how ferocious they would still be afraid. The horrifying power easily trampled them to pieces like tofu. Yi Tianyun didn't show any mercy. He continued to step forward, trampling them to pieces. In a short while, they were all dead. However, after killing them, Yi Tianyun felt a sharp gaze from a distance. He looked up and saw several star ships made of five-colored divine stones. Then, he saw a few star boats that were forged from five-colored divine stones in the distance. Quite a few green devils were on board, and one of them was a green devil in green armor, who was staring at him coldly. So many green demons? Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. There were at least several thousand star venerates in this group. Among them, the green demon who was staring at him was a late-stage star venerate. He gave off a feeling that he was even stronger than Metal Wind's star venerate. The cultivators following behind Yi Tianyun were scared out of their wits. They thought that with so many green demons killed, they could finally search for treasures in peace. But now, it seemed that was not the case. There were so many green demons, and they couldn't kill them all. It was as if they had entered the Green Demon Clan's lair. This place was full of green demons, and their cultivation was extremely high. What is in the Five Elements Mountain? I'd better go first. Whoever comes, he will come. I also need to go quickly. If I'm late, I'm afraid it will be too late. Damn it, why are there so many green demons? Chapter 1947. They didn't know when the green demons had surrounded them. There were already enough green demons in front of them, but they didn't expect more green demons to surround them so quickly. There were hundreds of green demons in front of them and hundreds behind them. There were probably thousands of green demons in total. The shocking number of green demons shocked them. How could there be so many green demons in the five-element mountain? Could it be that this place wasn't a sealed place, but a lair of the green demons? It's over, we can't escape. Their hearts sank. How could they escape now? There was almost nowhere to run. All their paths of retreat were blocked. How could they escape? So many green demons. Is this your lair? Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent. Facing so many green demons, his expression didn't change. This wasn't a big problem for him. He was curious about why there were so many green demons here and why so many celestial crystals had suddenly appeared. Bold cultivators, you have trespassed into our territory. Why aren't you kneeling and apologizing with your death? The green demon in front shouted at Yi Tianyun, not afraid of Yi Tianyun's power at all. In their opinion, as long as their king was here, there was nothing to be afraid of. Your territory? Yi Tianyun looked around and said indifferently, I don't think this is your territory. This is the five-element mountain, our territory. Bullshit. This isn't the five-element mountain, it's the green godly land. This is the territory of our people. It has been occupied by you cultivators. That's why it has become like this. The guard in front shouted and corrected Yi Tianyun. Oh, the green godly land. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed and he sneered, so what? There is no hatred for no reason in this world. You green demons are not good people either. Killing lives at will is not good. The weak are prey to the strong. You are too weak and are destined to be ruled by us. That's right, the green demon godchild is the ruler of this area. The green demon godchild is invincible. The guards roared as if they were on steroids. Their morale soared. Green demon godchild, huh? Interesting. Yi Tianyun looked at the celestial lord sitting leisurely on one of the astral boats. It seemed that this was the green demon godchild. Usually, the most talented geniuses in a faction would be called the god's son. It seemed that the green demon godchild was extremely talented. However, for him to break through to late-stage star venerate, his talent naturally could not be weak. A bunch of weak cultivators. Get rid of them. Don't let them tarnish our holy land, the green demon godchild said. He gently waved his hand and signaled for them to destroy the group of cultivators in front of him. With a command, a group of Green Devil race members rushed forward, and Grandmaster Xing's power erupted. The strange thing was that they didn't have a star Dharma idol. They were simply using their power to attack. However, this was already strong enough. With a strong physique, strong power, and being nourished by the five-colored divine stone every day, the situation would not be bad no matter what. As far as they were concerned, breaking through to Grandmaster Xing's cultivation was simply as easy as drinking water. If they soaked in the five-colored divine stone every day, it would be hard for them not to break through to Grandmaster Xing's cultivation. In an instant, a large number of Green Devil race members rushed forward. The group of cultivators turned pale. They wanted nothing but to go back. However, it was too late for regrets. They didn't even have the chance to escape. Soon, they were surrounded by a group of Green Devil race members. As for Yi Tianyun's side, they were also surrounded by a group of Green Devil race members. However, there was a huge difference between the two. One side was fighting to the death, while Yi Tianyun's side was quickly sweeping through. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of Green Devil race members were killed. After killing them, he immediately turned around and went to support the cultivators. As a beam of light shot out, the Green Devil race members who were attacking the cultivators were easily destroyed. The rescued cultivators immediately shed tears of gratitude. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to help them. Thank you, my lord. Thank you, my lord. As they expressed their gratitude, they retreated. Right now, they could only express their gratitude. There was nothing else they could do to repay him. If they were too late, it would be too late. Looking at their backs as they left, Yi Tianyun didn't pay them any attention. Getting rid of them, apart from destroying the Green Devil race, was also because they were cultivators. Staying with these cultivators was better than staying with the Green Devil race. Hundreds of Green Devil race members were killed. The Green Devil race members who were about to rush over were so scared that they retreated. Their morale was greatly reduced. They thought that with so many of them, they would definitely be able to exhaust Yi Tianyun to death. Who knew that they would be easily killed by him? He's not weak. The Green Devil Son of God didn't show any anger at the fact that so many of his subordinates had been killed. However, that's all there is to his strength. You cultivators think that you're really invincible and that no one can stop you? Your level is only about the same as his. The Green Devil Son of God waved his hand in the void. A head flew out and fell from the sky. Finally, it fell to the ground and smashed into a pile of meat paste. Yi Tianyun casually glanced at it. When it fell to the ground and turned into a pile of meat paste, he already saw who it was, the Sword Wind Star Venerate. The Sword Wind Star Venerate, who was charging at the front, died just like that. Furthermore, he was killed by the Green Devil Son of God. Although he wouldn't die if he kept his head, if his soul was extracted, it would be useless even if he kept his head. Yi Tianyun casually glanced at it and knew that the Sword Wind Star Venerate's soul had been extracted. The Green Devil Son of God probably swallowed it. Although the Sword Wind Star Venerate wasn't strong, he was still a Star Venerate. In such a short time, the Sword Wind Star Venerate was killed and his soul was extracted. This was enough to show how strong he was. Oh, his cultivation is just at the bottom of the list. Yi Tianyun shrugged and said with an indifferent attitude, "Bottom?" The Green Devil Son of God's eyes narrowed. He couldn't tell if Yi Tianyun was telling the truth or lying. He said that just to scare his opponent. He didn't expect the Sword Wind Star Venerate to be the weakest Star Venerate. This gave him a headache. He spoke lightly, but the Sword Wind Star Venerate was really not weak. Although he could kill him, it would still take some effort. If this was the weakest, then what would the strongest be? The main thing was that they couldn't get out. If they did, how could they resist the terrifying environment outside? That's right. He's the bottom. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, even your cultivation can only be considered average outside, below average. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.